One a deafening vibration, like a tractor starting right next to his ear, jolts. Sujun awake, his entire brain feels like it is rattling against his skull from the sheer intensity. Did his upstairs neighbors decide to start a massive renovation on a weekend of all days? As a high school senior, his precious time to sleep in is a rare luxury, and anger flares instantly at the thought of someone ruining it. He snaps his eyes open, ready to let out a string of curses, but all that comes of his mouth is a sharp, rhythmic buzz. He freezes, completely dumbfounded. Why is that sound coming from him? Disorientation hits him like a wave as his vision clears, but the sight before him is not his bedroom. He is surrounded by giant mosquitoes, creatures appearing larger than humans, flying frantically in every direction. He realizes with a jolt of horror that the tractor-like roar was not construction at all. It was the sound of these monsters. This has to be some twisted nightmare, but before he can even process the sheer absurdity, a cold, electronic voice rings in his head. A system notification informs him that the infinite evolution system has successfully bound to him, and a status panel flickers into view. He stares at the data. Host is Sujun and race is white-striped mosquito. His lifespan is a pathetic 6 days, and his stats are sitting at a measly 0.01. The realization hits him like a physical blow. The mosquitoes did not grow, he shrank. He has been reborn as a mosquito. He finds himself caught between disbelief and the grim reality of his situation. While a system is the standard toolkit for any transmigrator looking to reach the peak of the world, starting as a bug with a 6-day deadline feels like playing on hard mode. The system senses his panic and chimes in to offer some quick reassurance, explaining that he can gain vitality and evolution points by sucking blood. It claims that if he uses the system properly, he could eventually suck a god dry. But wait, there is a fundamental biological problem with this plan. He is a male mosquito. His mouthparts are supposed to be soft and meant for sweet nectar, not for piercing tough skin. However, the system is one step ahead, distributing a newbie gift pack. He receives 3 crucial skills to address his biological limits. First, Female Mosquito Mouthparts, Level 1, which modifies his anatomy. Second, Blood Food Tracking, Level 1, a passive skill to sense any creature within 100 meters, and also Zerg Space, Level 1, which allows him to store and command up to 100 insects of the same level. Relief washes over him. Now he actually has a fighting chance. With the ability to track and feed, he will not fly aimlessly. He decides to test Zerg Space immediately, locking his gaze on a nearby pest. With a single mental command, the tiny insect completely vanishes. It reappears in his internal space, and he feels a direct mental connection to it. It is intoxicating to realize he can easily control its every move. If he can scale this up to millions, he could become a force of nature. Enthusiastically recruits 4 more followers. A violent wave of dizziness hits. The system warns him that his weak soul is overloaded. His body and spirit are totally drained from using skills so quickly. If he doesn't find blood to recharge within 5 minutes, he will die. The panic returns tenfold. There is no time to complain as he desperately activates his tracking skill. Almost instantly, he locks onto a nearby target, a human girl named Heian, 18 years old. He flaps his wings as fast as possible, racing in her direction because his life literally depends on it. Nearby, Heian is completely lost in her own thoughts. She remembers her past life, wasting decades as a mediocre martial artist before finally switching to beast taming and eventually rising as the beast-taming empress, falling during a heavenly tribulation. She woke up back in her 18-year-old body, determined to start her legendary path early. Her first contracted spirit beast, she vows, must have an absolutely extraordinary bloodline to ensure her path and foundation is completely unshakable. This time, she will build something far greater than before. Inside a room decorated in soft shades of pink, he witnesses a scene straight out of an epic fantasy. Talk about luck. Heian has already prepared a complex blood contract formation on the floor. And right in the center sits a coiled emerald snake almost a meter long. It is a spiritual green serpent with a top-tier bloodline, a beast. Destined to reach the 5th rank once fully grown, this is her first companion beast carefully selected for this second chance. She knows that for any beast tamer, this first choice decides everything since it dictates growth speed and ultimate limits before reaching the 5th rank herself. She cannot even contract a second creature. She looks back on her past life with deep frustration, remembering how she had to start with a useless big-eared rabbit, even though her genius talent forced that weak pet to evolve 3 times into a 5th rank beast. It cost 3 years and a huge fortune. Once she advanced further, that rabbit became a total burden with 0 combat strength, leaving her constantly lagging behind her rivals. She realizes now that with just one more powerful beast back then, she would have survived that final strike of the heavenly tribulation. Staring at the green snake now, her cold gaze softens with excitement while plotting out her future path to power. With a subtle smile, she activates the magic formation, and a blinding white light erupts to cover them both. As she bites her fingertip for blood to seal the contract, our hero faces his own desperate life or death crisis. He lands on her smooth, white thigh, feeling so dizzy he can barely think. Survival instinct kicks in, and he forces his proboscis to become thick and hard, thrusting it fiercely into her thigh. He starts sucking frantically, feeling the warm, bright red blood flow into his body, watching his flat belly swell and turn crimson. System notifications start chiming in his head, showing his vitality climbing by small increments as his stamina rapidly recovers. The feeling of impending death vanishes, and he finally breathes a sigh of relief, thankful that there was a source of blood nearby. Can we really blame the guy feeding on her? Certainly carries a much lighter mental burden than some sweaty, more than a middle-aged man. 2 satisfying sips, then he pulls out. Feeling stuffed, the system says he has reached 0.16 vitality. He can perform his first evolution once he hits 1.0. That does not seem difficult at all. Just a few more sessions like this and he will be on his way. He is actually considering just staying in this house to use her as a regular food source when a shocked female voice suddenly echoes directly in his mind. It is not the system, and the confusion only deepens as the voice continues, sounding absolutely astonished. Heian is spiraling into disbelief, realizing that while the blood contract did not fail, it also did not go as planned. She senses an incredibly weak spiritual power and starts to panic, wondering if she actually just contracted a mosquito. He can hear her inner thoughts clearly as she tries to remain calm and sense the connection again, only for her to eventually let out a vocal scream of pure shock. He is standing there, or rather flying there, completely baffled as to why he can suddenly hear her mind and what this blood contract even entails. The look in Heian's eyes is one of pure despair. She slowly pieces together that right as she was about to drop her blood onto the snake, he had intercepted it by biting her leg. The formation recognized him as the primary target, binding the legendary beast taming empress to a common mosquito. To her, he is the absolute bottom of the food chain, a creature that should not even be able to reach the 1st rank, let alone the 5th. She feels like the universe is playing a cruel joke on her, as even her immense talent cannot bridge the gap for an insect like him. As she stands there feeling like her future is ruined, he is finally putting the pieces together himself. He has accidentally bonded with a reincarnated empress, and now he has become her contracted beast. His mind is a complete mess trying to process the absurdity of it all. Heian slumps to the ground as if her very soul has departed, her eyes hollow and her beautiful face pale with the color of dead ash. it really is over, everything she planned for has vanished in an instant. She was the dignified beast. Taming Empress, reborn with what should have been a god tier, start to surpass every genius and reclaim her peak, but now her first contracted beast is a mosquito. He can almost feel her internal scream asking how she is supposed to play. This hand, honestly, it is not just a rough start, it feels like her account was deleted before she even had a chance to begin, as she realizes her career is now forever bound to an insect. The world seems to spin around her, and she nearly faints from a despair more profound than the moment her soul was extinguished in her past life. He can only watch in silence, acknowledging that he has effectively broken a reborn empress's mental state on day one. He wants to tell her that being a mosquito is not entirely useless, but he decides to stay quiet. After 10 minutes of absolute silence, a glimmer of light slowly reignites in her eyes. She refuses to give up because she is Heian, the woman who once ascended to the Emperor realm. Even if the heavens want her dead, she intends to defy them. Refusing to let a mere mosquito become an obstacle to her return, he watches her take a deep breath to force herself into a state of calm. She reasons through her options rapidly, knowing her path as a beast tamer is ruined until the 5th rank. With 0 talent left, she has only one desperate path. Her gaze suddenly hardens with dangerous resolve, filled with a hint of madness as she recalls the forbidden 10,000 beasts furnace art. Evil technique uses a secret method to devour the blood essence of powerful demonic beasts, stealing their power at the cost of unimaginable pain and the risk of transforming into a mindless, rampaging beast. If she had any other option, she would never take this wicked path, but with her options blocked, she smiles tragically at her fate, yet through their mental connection, the bug hears every word of her resolve. Deeply impressed, he realizes they are a total match made in heaven, because both of them must rely on blood to grow stronger. Her mental strength is honestly incredible. Anyone else would beg for a restart, yet she has already carved out a new way forward. Suddenly her eyes lock onto him, radiating a dark, complex mix of hatred and killing intent. The mosquito instantly freezes, hoping she won't act rashly, but she grits her teeth, recalling their binding contract. Since they live and die together, she cannot kill him without ending her own life too. In fact, she realizes she actually has to protect him, at least until she can bond with a second beast. The thought of babysitting a tiny mosquito makes her chest tighten with agonizing fury from the sheer, burning humiliation. As for the bug, he is absolutely thrilled. Who wouldn't want a former empress as a personal shield? Means he can live easy from now on. She will handle all the slaughter while he handles the cheering and the blood sucking. She glares at the bug, ordering him to behave and stay close, warning that she won't spare him even as a ghost if he dies. He barely has time to react before the system sounds off, announcing that his blood digestion is finally complete, and granting him 0.1 evolution points. His belly flattens instantly, which surprises him. In his past life, a mosquito would stay bloated for a day. But here it has only been 30 minutes. The system must have enhanced his digestion to maximize his feeding efficiency. If he can reach 1 vitality point for his first evolution in just a single day, he'll be in incredible shape. Plus, he has a safe, premium blood bag standing right in front of him. Feeling satisfied, he sharpens his needle and stabs right back into her smooth thigh for round 2. Heian is busy recalling the forbidden technique when she feels the familiar, sharp itch. Her hand flies up instinctively to slap him, but stops just 5 centimeters away. Her eyes twitch and her face darkens as she realizes the bug is already back. For seconds, she looks ready to have another mental breakdown, watching the tiny creature that ruined her future feed on her skin while she stays helpless to strike back. But then wait for it. After a moment of sheer fury, she actually grits her teeth and activates her technique, deliberately channeling her meager blood energy to her thigh to Feed him, she knows that a mosquito's natural lifespan is less than half a month, and since their fates are locked, she must use her energy to keep him alive. He watches her suffer through the ultimate humiliation, feeding her blood and vitality to the exact insect she detests, looking so defeated she seems ready to cry, resting on her thigh. He couldn't care less about her internal blood energy. All he knew was that this reborn empress tasted absolutely divine, far better than he ever imagined. As he drank, screens flooded his mind: 0.08, 0.09, and even 0.12. He absorbed 0.48 in total, to bring his current score to 0.64. Better yet, the system confirmed this high concentration of energy increased his lifespan by 6 hours. He immediately checked his status panel to see it updated to 6 days and 6 hours. For a creature with barely any time left, this was monumental. As long as he kept feeding on her, he could extend his life and escape sudden death. He pulled his mouth parts out with satisfaction, belly round, heavy. She was no longer bodyguard, she was a premium source to restore his health. He only needed 2 more feedings to reach 1 point of blood energy before his first evolution. He could not wait for that. Meanwhile, Heian forced herself to calm down, realizing that self-pity was a waste of time. Her only goal was gaining strength. So she turned back to the 10,000 beasts furnace technique. The art required blood essence from a high-level demon beast to ignite her internal furnace. Her eyes slowly shifted toward the spiritual green snake resting in the magic array. It looked back at her with a confused hiss, sensing danger. Heian whispered a soft apology, her gaze cold with regret and lethal intent. Feeling the threat, the spiritual green snake tensed its emerald body, raising its head in warning. To anyone else, it was a prized companion, but to her, it was demoted to raw material for her forbidden cultivation. She told the snake to blame its bad luck before launching into a lightning-fast strike. Despite being a low-grade martial artist, she moved with terrifying speed. Like a ghost, she flickered behind the snake, dodging its whipping tail with a quick crouch. A silver dagger, originally meant for the ceremony, slipped into her hand. She knew that while normal snakes are struck at 7 inches, this species had a vital spot 3 inches down. With a sharp twist, she drove the blade home. A miserable shriek erupted as the snake thrashed, smashing furniture before falling completely still. Watching this from her leg, the sheer ruthlessness made the tiny mosquito heart skip a beat. Talk about cold-blooded. She turned on her partner without a second thought. She did not stay to mourn, instead placing her palm over the wound, chanting for the 10,000 beasts furnace to open. Streams of vibrant blood flowed from the corpse into her arm, and she immediately doubled over, her face turning pale as sweat poured from her brow. It was not just physical pain. The violent, bloodthirsty soul of the beast tried to shatter her mind. Emerald scales even began to sprout on her skin, and her pupils quickly started to slit vertically, showing the telltale signs of beastification. Chu Sheng feels her immense agony through their mental link, marveling at how ruthless she is toward herself. She relies on the sheer willpower of her past emperor realm status to protect her mind and refine the beast essence. After a grueling half hour, she finally exhales a long breath, her scales fading and her eyes clearing. Though her blood energy has grown stronger, she is not satisfied. The process is too slow, and the risk of losing her mind is too high. She realizes she needs a pulse-protecting pill to speed up refinement and protect her meridians. But such precious medicine is incredibly expensive. The former empress is facing a very modern problem. She is broke. A trace of bitterness touches the corners of Gaiuxi's mouth as she realizes she is completely penniless. It is a harsh reality to face. She was an orphan with a comfortable inheritance, but she resolutely sold her luxury flat and spent every last penny to buy that high-level green snake. planning to use it as a springboard to soar to the heavens, yet here she is with a dead snake, no money. And a contracted mosquito. A single meridian-protecting pill costs at least 500,000 on the market, making it impossible to save that much on a standard monthly salary. Chu Sheng watches her fall into deep thought, her mind working rapidly to find a solution, until her eyes suddenly light up with realization. She remembers her identity as the school beauty and a senior at Yangcheng Lingwu High School. In just half a month, there will be a joint examination held by all the schools in the city, and the top 3 performers will receive a generous scholarship. The prize for first place is exactly 500,000, not a penny less. She makes her decision instantly, even though she recalls that in her previous life, her martial talent was so poor she had never even bothered to register. Back then, she was only first grade early-stage martial artist, while her peers were reaching the late stage or even the peak. But things are different now. She calculates that with her current refining speed, she can absorb the snake's essence blood and reach at least second-grade early stage within 2 weeks. A second-grade martial artist competing against high schoolers is essentially a dimensional reduction. Strike first place is practically guaranteed. Without delaying, she cleans the room, hiding the snake carcass under the bed for her future cultivation resource. She changes into her school uniform, ready to register before the deadline, and gives her mosquito partner a cold warning to stay put. Chu Sheng is currently perched on her skirt, completely ignoring her words. He just felt the system announce that his digestion is complete, giving him more evolution points. He only needs 0.36 more vitality to evolve, and he is extremely close. Already tasting his success, he does not hesitate to plunge his needle deep into her thigh. On the snowy white skin nearby, there are already 2 red painful bumps from his previous meals, making her so furious she can barely catch her breath. While she fumes, Chu Sheng focuses on the numbers ticking up in his head, extracting the final bit of vitality he needs, reaching 1.02. The system confirms he has met the requirements for his first evolution and asks if he wants to begin. He is overjoyed, ready to start, but a sudden gust hits him hard. Everything spins, his vision blurs, but once it finally clears, he realizes he is trapped inside a clear plastic takeout box. Heian holds it up directly to her eyes. She glares at him with an icy, cold look, warning him no feeding without permission. Honestly, he thinks she is being incredibly stingy. 2 bites will not kill her, but this container is actually quite safe. He commands the system. It is time to begin his first evolution. This mutation will take 3 hours. Soon, he sinks into a deep sleep. Heian notices nothing. She simply tucks the plastic box into her bag and heads to school. It was partly out of spite, but mostly to protect him. She knows exactly how incredibly fragile a tiny mosquito can be. Walking the quiet paths of Yangcheng High, she wears an aloof expression. Hiding her shame, her contracted beast is an embarrassment, but she has no clue that inside her bag, a massive mutation is occurring. It feels warm. Like warm amniotic fluid, a strange, mystical energy is reshaping his entire body. The process finishes. The system declares a major success. He has evolved from a simple white-striped insect into a junior mutated blood mosquito. He snaps awake. He checks his new status panel and instantly curses with excitement. His lifespan is now 30 days. This gives him a real chance. His vitality has surged, but the most terrifying upgrade is his mouth. Those female mosquito mouthparts have successfully leveled up to Tier 2. They went from a thin hair to a weapon thick as a toothpick. The sharp tip shimmers with cold, deadly light. Its length has more than doubled. He could easily pierce a thick elephant hide. Human skin is nothing now. With this weapon, believe me, a single poke would be an absolute nightmare. Now, the amount of blood he can drain in one go is going to skyrocket. This evolution is perfect. Meanwhile, exiting the administration building, Heian walks along the quiet campus road, keeping her signature icy look. This keeps everyone away, but he can feel her mood through their contract. It is anything but calm. Her inner state is a total mess. It makes sense, anyone would be frustrated, but he cannot worry about her. He has no time to worry. He is far too busy inside his plastic room. He eagerly examines his newly evolved body, filled with pure excitement. His proboscis has become something truly remarkable. He is certain it can act as a literal steel needle. He tests it by poking the inner wall of the container. A solid bang echoes back. It sounds like a toothpick hitting hard plastic. His physical size has ballooned to 4 times its original scale. His 6 legs feel like miniature steel bars, absolutely rippling with raw power. He asks the system to check his level, and the result is shocking. He can easily ram and kill 10 normal mosquitoes. His speed is insane. He can fly up to 20 kilometers per hour, and his needle can pierce 3 centimeter thick pigskin. This level 2 weapon is an absolute masterpiece. If it can pierce tough pigskin, he can feed on almost any beast. He excitedly flaps his wings, absolutely ready to find his very first target. Its wings buzz inside the box, the vibration growing louder like a tiny drone. But Heian's cold voice cuts right through their mental link. Telling the little monster to behave, it grumbles but finally settles down. Knowing she is its ultimate meal ticket, it has to play by her rules. For now at least. Meanwhile, Heian is secretly surprised by its growth. She wonders if it grew bigger from drinking her blood essence, though she still dismisses it as a useless little bug. The mosquito takes offense, but they soon arrive at the beast taming department, unlike the martial arts division. This place is loud and smells like a zoo, packed with strange beasts. She eventually stops right outside Class 8, which, the little creature gathers from her thoughts, is the absolute worst class here. That does not bother the bug at all, it just wants fresh blood bags. As she pushes the door open, the noisy room falls completely silent. Dozens of eyes stare at the famous school beauty. Inside, the mosquito peeks through the gaps of the box, seeing a massive room with spacious desks. Built for contracted beasts, there is a yawning flame fox, a rock-armored boar, tearing up the floor, and a 3-eyed crow staring back at them. Sensing them through blood tracking, the mosquito realizes they all carry genuine monster bloodlines. Even in the worst class, the entry level here is high. The teacher, a lazy-looking man who already knows about her transfer, welcomes her with a nod and points her toward an empty seat. But before she can move, a handsome boy in the front row stands up. A massive, cyan-scaled lizard lounges beside him as he announces that department tradition requires new students to show off their contracted beasts. The whole class chimes in, fully expecting some elegant, beautiful creature. Even the teacher just chuckles, doing absolutely nothing to stop them. Heian pauses, walks up to the podium, and sets down a cheap takeout box. The entire room falls dead silent. You can practically feel the awkward tension. Finally, one brave student leans forward to peer inside the box. He stammers out that it is just a mosquito. Instantly, the room explodes. Shouts of sheer disbelief and mockery echo from every single corner. They call her crazy, and honestly, can you blame them? A mosquito is just absurd. Even the teacher's lazy smile completely freezes. As he leans forward to check, his mouth twitching in sheer awkwardness. In the end, he can only let out a heavy sigh of deep pity for her. Yet the mocking laughter and gossip do not faze Heian at all. Her stunning, icy expression remains totally calm. This chaos has nothing to do with her. She calmly packs away the box containing the mosquito, walks straight to the back row, and starts flipping through her textbook. That absolute silence and calm, unfazed even if the sky were falling, leaves the entire room of gossiping classmates completely at a loss for words. Since she does not care, their childish mockery only makes them look cheap. Soon the chatter dies down entirely, but the looks they cast her way are heavy with pity, regret, and a complete lack of understanding. To them, it looks like she has completely given up on her future. The teacher on the podium slaps the desk to restore order, drawing everyone's attention before beginning his lecture. Even as he teaches, the mosquito notices his eyes, drifting toward her with a heavy sigh. Meanwhile, inside the plastic prison, the little mosquito is listening. Intrigued, he takes a certain delight in the shock his appearance caused, thinking it was for the best that everyone believes he is trash and she is ruined. Playing weak to strike hard later is a classic tactic, and he is content to let them offer sympathy now, knowing that in 2 weeks, when the joint exam begins, Haeun will shock them all into total silence. The class period passes quickly in that heavy atmosphere, and right on cue the trouble begins. A tall student named Sono makes his move. The mosquito's blood food tracking shows that he is 18 and a first-grade late-stage beast tamer. It is a useful skill to have, and it is clear why this guy is considered top tier in Class 8. He likely ranks in the top 30 of the entire grade. He walks up to her desk with a smile he clearly thinks is gentle, hoping to capitalize on the fact that the school beauty has fallen from grace. To him, her contracting a mosquito is the perfect opening to show off his own charm. Haeun glances up at him with freezing eyes, not a single word. Sono, completely undeterred, tells her not to be discouraged, since a first contracted beast does not determine a person's entire future. The other students in class practically cringe at his blatant nonsense. Everyone knows that without reaching rank 5, she cannot get a second beast, and reaching that rank with a mosquito is an impossible dream. He seems to be betting on her lack of knowledge, but he does not stop there. He summons his partner, a blue-gray windblade wolf the size of a massive mastiff, approaches and rubs against his leg. He pats the wolf's head with pride, boasting about its mid-level bloodline and its limitless future. He even offers to share his training experience and promises to use his connections to help her find a better beast when she is eventually able to contract a second one. He looks incredibly confident, clearly believing he is providing a strong shoulder for a fallen girl to lean on. The surrounding classmates are both speechless at his cheap flirting and envious of his wolf. Compared to a tiny mosquito, it really is the difference between heaven and earth. Inside the box, the mosquito almost bursts out laughing at the performance. This guy is trying to act like a hero, offering advice to the actual empress of beast taming. He is showing off a winged husky to the girl who just slaughtered a high-level giant snake for a snack. It is like a clown performing for an expert. Still, the mosquito notes that the wolf's vitality seems pretty robust, and he subconsciously licks his proboscis, wondering how nourishing a sip of its blood would taste. Sono finishes his pitch and waits for a response, but Haeun's reaction leaves him completely stunned. She simply asks if he is finished. When he stammers that he is, she tells him to move because he is blocking her light. Then she goes right back to her textbook, treating his entire speech like nothing more than a simple fly buzzing in her ear. The entire classroom goes dead silent. Then people start looking at Sono like he is a total joke. His face turns shades of his face flushed. Stung by the public rejection, he took a deep breath to reply. Her cold, standoffish demeanor completely killed his words. Letting out a cold, bitter snort, he dragged his wolf back to his seat. He was fuming that she dared to act so arrogant with just a pretty face. Sono seethed inwardly as he watched Haeun walk away. He decided right then that he would never waste his time on her again. Never. He would wait and see how she survived the joint exam with a mosquito. The little bug watched this entire drama unfold from inside his plastic box. Honestly, he was highly amused. This guy had absolutely zero game. Flexing muscles and throwing empty promises was way too low-level for this girl. She was a former empress who had seen it all, but he was pleased. With this outcome, he was not about to let anyone harass his meal ticket. The school day finally wrapped up in a strange, quiet tranquility. Just like that, Heian became an overnight celebrity in Class 8. And across the entire beast taming department, the rumors spread fast. A gorgeous martial arts prodigy transferring over just to contract. A common mosquito was simply too shocking for people to ignore. After school, she did not linger. She grabbed her bag and rushed out. The mosquito assumed they were going home, but after many twists and turns, they arrived at a remarkably ancient and run-down neighborhood. Peeling paint, cluttered hallways, and damp cooking smells made him wonder if she was actually living so poorly. Then he remembered. She had sold her old estate just to buy that spiritual green snake. Today was likely the final move-out deadline, and this room was her new home. It was a cramped rental room of barely 20 square meters without amenities. Hearing her sigh, you can tell she is totally broke, tough times. But wait, this messy environment was actually a pretty perfect setup for him. More bugs and pests meant plenty of targets to recruit as minions. Heian threw her bag on the bed and set his plastic box on the table. Staring at him with a complicated look, she warned him mentally that he had to stay locked inside that tiny container for 2 weeks. Locked up, he found the entire idea of solitary confinement completely absurd, especially since he was now a mutated blood mosquito who had outgrown this tiny space. He was starving, so he began flying around. In protest, buzzing loudly and stabbing the inner walls with his sharp snout. The rhythmic tapping made her frown, and he could feel her growing irritation. She was clearly annoyed and probably wanted to toss him far away. But the life-and-death blood contract forced her to keep him safe. In this sketchy rental house, she could not risk her only beast getting eaten by a rat or a cockroach. She ordered him to be quiet. But he did not care if he could not feed and level up. They would both be in danger if someone managed to swat him. They were in this together, after all. When she asked what he wanted, he stopped tapping and sent a simple, clear message: hungry, need blood. She stood stunned, suddenly realizing she had completely forgotten to feed him. She knew he needed to feed, forcing her to provide it just to stay alive. With a look of pure reluctance, she opened the lid and told him he could only do this once before returning immediately. But before she could finish, he shot out of the container with speed far beyond any ordinary mosquito and landed firmly on her hand. His tiny, needle-like mouthpart pierced her skin like a miniature drill without any effort. She was absolutely shocked by his sudden burst of speed, but he ignored her to feast. It was incredibly refreshing. He quickly absorbed 0.8 blood essence, bringing his total to 1.9. The system notified him that digestion took an hour and would grant him 0.4 evolution points and 5 hours of extra life. Feeling satisfied and bloated like a red glass bead, he wobbled as he pulled out his mouthpart to fly back, but Heian slammed the lid shut, staring at him with an intense gaze. She finally noticed that his body size and sharp mouthparts had changed significantly. The pain was several times more intense than before, leading her to an absurd yet logical conclusion. Consuming her blood essence was letting him evolve as the former beast taming Empress. She knew that for an ordinary insect to change this much in one day was impossible. She stared at him, her mind racing with the realization that he might actually be a variant. In this world, a variant is a beast whose bloodline has undergone an unknown mutation, often granting them incredible potential, far beyond their peers, and the rare ability to evolve independently. She convinced herself that sucking her blood, rich with vital energy, must have triggered a dormant mutation to complete his first evolution. Having reached this conclusion, her mood became visibly complicated. On one hand, contracting a variant capable of independent evolution, even a mosquito, was a blessing in disguise. Yet she quickly regained her cold, rational composure. She analyzed the situation, silently noting that throughout history, even the most powerful variants have a limit of at most 3 evolutions. She essentially sentenced him to a suspended death sentence, reasoning that even with heaven-defying luck, 3 evolutions would only bring a mosquito to the level of a rank 1 demonic beast. To her, he remained a burden with no real combat power. He sat there sprawled on the table, listening to her dismissive inner thoughts while happily feeling the changes in his body, his tiny mosquito face filled with pure indignation. Honestly, it is hilarious how badly she is underestimating him. Who did she think she was, claiming he had some sort of limit? He complained silently about her extreme naivety. She did not realize he was no ordinary variant. He had an infinite evolution system, making 3 evolutions. Nothing, his true journey lay toward the stars and the necks of the gods. Her narrow-mindedness was slightly irritating, but then it actually amused him. It was fine for her to underestimate him for now. It would only make her face look much more priceless when he became a divine mosquito. He would make her sing his praises daily, lost in thought. Heian stopped dwelling on him, focusing on her own progress. In her eyes, he was just a bad investment with a low rate of return. Heian drags the heavy bag with the spiritual green snake's corpse from under the cold wooden bed. The second she tears the bag open, a thick bloody stench completely fills the room, carrying a metallic tang mixed with an alluring, rare scent unique to high bloodline demonic beasts. When the little creature catches that scent, his eyes widen. His specialized tracking skill registers that the rich energy in the snake blood is 10 times richer than Heian's. He instantly forgets his annoyance, staring hungrily at the cold serpent as his mouthparts twitch with absolute greed. He is practically drooling over such a massive, delicious prize. Heian completely ignores his intense longing and sits cross-legged, pressing her hands to the wound to activate her myriad beast furnace again. The little bug watches anxiously as strands of crimson and rich emerald essence blood flows directly into her waiting arms, bringing severe, stinging pain again. But she remains composed, focusing all her strength on refining the power. He feels completely restless, like an itchy cat, wishing she would save a drop instead of keeping it all. Every drop she absorbs feels like a personal, devastating loss of his own potential evolution points. He sits anxiously on the table, hoping his digestion finishes before she drains the serpent dry. Finally, a full hour later, the system's notification chimes like sweet music, confirming that his blood digestion is finished, granting him 0.4 evolution points, bringing his grand total to 0.9, while his bloated belly shrinks as a massive surge of hunger hits. He looks over at Heian, finding her eyes shut tight, her pale face slick with sweat. She is currently at a highly critical stage of her deep cultivation, completely zoning out. Notice anything, the little beast gloats, realizing this is the absolute perfect chance to sneak a quick snack. He carefully beats his wings, carefully keeping his flight as silent as possible to avoid making any disruptive buzzing sounds. Incredibly quiet, like a phone vibrating on silent, he lands gently on the dead green snake right beside the massive open wound she carved. The rich scent is so overwhelming that he nearly faints with delight. He does not hesitate for a second, targeting a patch of soft flesh and immediately stabbing his hard, sharp mouthparts down with force. They pierce the scales effortlessly, proving that although this is a high-ranking demonic beast, it remains a helpless, newborn hatchling with fragile defenses. The rich essence that pours into him is entirely different from Heian's human blood. If her blood is just a mild healing tonic, this is concentrated power source, wild, primal, and incredibly pure. Energy explodes within his body as the system records massive vitality gains of 0.5 and 0.6. With every single gulp, a sudden mental warning flashes that this raw energy is far too immense and that he absolutely must watch his tiny body's physical limits. System warnings flood his mind like crazy, and though the danger is clear, his eyes are already bloodshot with a wild, uncontrollable hunger. Forget limits. In this cruel, unforgiving world, only the bold feast while the weak Starve, this is the precious essence of a high-grade demonic beast. Once in a lifetime chance he refuses to let slip away, rather than stopping. The greedy bug feeds even faster, the sound of his drinking becoming a loud, rhythmic drone. He can feel his belly expanding at a rapid pace, quickly growing far larger than it ever did when feeding on Heian's essence. His abdomen shifts from a bright scarlet to a deep, swollen crimson, looking like a tiny bomb that he felt like he could explode at any second. Only when his tiny body was truly about to burst with waves of pain tearing through his skin did he reluctantly pull away. He wobbled, letting out a giant, satisfied burp as he retracted his needle-sharp proboscis. Dragging his heavy, bloated body back onto the table, he was way too full to fly. But he managed to crawl back into place and pretend nothing had happened. When the system's final settlement popped up, he was absolutely thrilled. He had just absorbed 4.2 vital energy, bringing his total to 6.1, and since he consumed a high-grade lineage cub, the system estimated that once the blood fully digested, he would gain 2.1 evolution points and 2 extra days of lifespan. Talk about hitting the jackpot. This feeding session was a massive profit that made him want to burst out laughing. With just one mouthful, he had gained more vital energy and lifespan than all his painstaking feeding sessions on Heian combined. His total vital energy was now more than halfway to the 10 points needed for his second evolution, and he already had more than enough points to cover the cost. Life was great. He lay on the table, savoring the surging power in his belly as his heart bloomed with joy. He felt every single cell in his body undergoing subtle, wonderful changes under the rich nourishment of this energy, his physical strength ticking up bit by bit. This spiritual green snake's blood was just too incredibly potent, far more powerful than the Empress's own blood. He felt incredibly comfortable, realizing that if he could get his claws on this quality food every single day, evolving into a primal saint mosquito wouldn't just be a dream. While savoring the fragrance of the snake blood, he peeked at Heian. She was still practicing with her eyes closed, her brows tightly furrowed, and her forehead completely drenched in sweat. Clearly, refining the snake blood was no easy task for her, and he silently cheered her on. He decided their combination was a match made in heaven. She could handle the hard cultivation to get stronger, and he would handle the tough job of sharing her food. Talk about a perfect partnership. But as he was feeling smug, the system notified him of a newly unlocked function for evolution points. Turns out, these points could be used to upgrade his existing skills directly, rather than just being saved for future racial evolutions. He looked over his options with a pleasant surprise, his inner calculator ticking away as he realized these points were basically experience books for his abilities. Once this batch of blood digested, he would have a total of 3 points, allowing him to both evolve and upgrade a skill. He analyzed his choices carefully, starting with the armor-piercing spike upgrade for his proboscis. It promised an epic boost in penetration that could pierce the defense of most rank 1 demonic beasts, which sounded like a divine skill for fighting and stealing blood. His wings trembled with excitement at the thought, but the cost was 5 points, making it way too expensive for his current net worth. He had to set that option aside and look at the others. Blood food tracking tier 2 would expand his perception range to 300 meters, which would be useful for finding hidden high-grade blood bags. However, since he currently had the Empress as a stable source and a whole snake carcass for a midnight snack, the need was not urgent. His gaze finally landed on the upgrade for his Zerg Space. He remembered how dizzy he had felt after subduing only 5 underlings, and the upgrade promised not only 2. It would increase his capacity to 500 while significantly easing his mental burden. That was the selling point. A single mosquito is pretty limited, but hundreds or thousands, now that is a force to be reckoned with. They would be excellent for scouting, harassment, or even providing cover. They would make perfect helpers. His decision was made instantly. He had to build his team in secret. Ganging up on targets was the key. Having plenty of cannon fodder would make his future blood-stealing runs much safer. He was absolutely thrilled, already fantasizing about the glorious scene of leading his army. 500 mosquitoes marching majestically right toward their targets. Those high-grade demonic beast blood bags at the school. An hour later, Heian slowly opened her eyes. She exhaled a heavy breath carrying a metallic scent. Her skin remained pale, but her eyes suddenly shone with a new brilliance. She had successfully broken through to the first grade, hitting the mid-stage. And in a single day, no less. If anyone found out, it would absolutely shock the entire Jiancheng Lingwu High School, proving the power of the domineering 10,000 beast furnace art. But she also felt the heavy strain on her mind from the violent spirit snake's blood. Without the iron willpower she built up during her past life as empress, she would have almost certainly succumbed to a horrific beastification by now. She realized she needed a vessel protection pill, her eyes drifting toward the snake carcass on the floor. Suddenly she froze, her brow furrowing in confusion. She noticed the dead snake looked quite a bit more shriveled than before. Was it just an illusion, or a trick from her exhausted mind? Subconsciously, her gaze slowly turned toward the desk. Right there lay the little mosquito, playing his role perfectly, sitting completely still with a swollen, dark red belly, looking like he was in a total food coma after overeating. She stared closely at him for several seconds. An incredibly absurd thought crossed her mind. Had this tiny bug somehow stolen a bite? But she dismissed the idea almost immediately. The violent energy of a high-grade demonic beast would make a fragile insect explode instantly, and honestly, you can't even blame her for that logic. She chalked it up to mental fatigue and tucked the bag away. It was her absolute only hope for reaching the second grade very soon. In the coming weeks, meaning she absolutely could not afford any losses. The mosquito nearly burst out laughing. She actually guessed the truth, but lacked the context of his system, which saved him from exploding. If his stomach capacity weren't limited, he would have drained that snake dry right then and there. He gloated internally while waiting out the long 3-hour digestion process. That rich snake blood felt like caffeine, rampaging directly through his tiny system, leaving him in a state of high energy. He had to wait uncomfortably for her to finally fall asleep. But exhaustion eventually won, and after a quick wash, she collapsed into bed. Deep, steady sleep. Around 3 in the morning, his system finally rang. Digestion was complete, granting him 2.1 evolution points and an extra 3 days of lifespan. His status screen updated immediately. With 33 days of life left and a 6.1 Chi in blood value, his eyes snapped open. He felt his bloated belly deflate as pure, powerful energy surged into his limbs and bones. Staring at his 3 evolution points with pure delight, he immediately ordered an upgrade for his Zerg Space. Level 2 was unlocked. The cramped space in his mind instantly expanded more than tenfold, and any dizziness he once felt while controlling his subordinates completely vanished. Effortless fluid control replaced it. He excitedly flapped his wings, tempted to let out a triumphant buzz toward the ceiling before remembering. He had work to do, time to build a mosquito legend. Glancing at the sleeping Empress, he quietly flew toward the gaps in the broken window. He squeezed through, entering the dark, humid corridor outside, where the stench of rotting garbage filled the air. While the old Sujun might have choked on this smell, as a mosquito, he found it strangely welcoming. A true insect paradise. Rubbing his 4 legs together, he used his tracking skill to sense the hidden life forms within the building. He wasn't hunting for his mosquito brethren just yet. They were too fragile and lacked real combat power. Instead, he wanted some tough, thick-skinned cannon fodder. He buzzed down to the garbage heap downstairs, which was basically a massive festival for insects. His eyes locked onto a cluster of cockroaches chewing on rotting leaves. They were the perfect meat shields and scouts, resilient Stealthy and practically unkillable, he locked onto the largest, fattest target and triggered his collect command, watching it vanish instantly. Into his Zerg space, feeling the fresh spiritual connection, he got to work and launched a massive conscription campaign. 1, 2, 10, 50 bugs collected. Like a diligent beekeeper, but instead of honey, he was gathering an army. One by one, he pulled cockroaches, flies, moths, and other crawling bugs. Near the trash pile into his storage, the level 2 Zerg space was a masterpiece of efficiency, letting him gather over 100 insects with zero mental strain. He even tried to grab a spider in the corner, but soon realized the skill only worked on insects, keeping other arthropods, like spiders and centipedes, off the table. A minor pity, but this diverse squad of misfits was more than enough. Now it was time to test their coordination, so he hovered in midair and sent a mental command to his entire collection, ordering them to deploy and form a perfect square. Instantly, a dense, buzzing swarm materialized right on the ground before him. These bugs, once fighting over scraps moments ago, were now moving with the absolute precision of a programmed machine. Flies and moths swirled above while the crawlers aligned themselves on the pavement until a rough, barely recognizable square formation took shape. It looked absolutely amazing, making him feel like a commander in a strategy game. Watch this. He spent the next few minutes commanding the swarm to shift into different shapes from an S to a B, thoroughly enjoying the show. Even if they lacked individual power, their sheer volume and synchronized movements were enough to terrify anyone. He immediately thought of Sono and his wind blade wolf. Tomorrow at school, he would put his new winged army to work, using the husky as a training dummy to show him the true path of beast taming. Looks like the next morning, Haeyun woke up feeling completely refreshed. Her breakthrough to the first grade mid-stage, granting her a major boost in stamina and energy. She glanced at the table, spotting the mosquito resting there with a deflated belly, looking completely normal. She still saw him as a mere burden that needed feeding, and after locking him back inside the plastic takeout box, she hurried off to school. With the joint exam looming, she was desperate to confirm details of the 10,000 beasts, furnace art, and the vein protection pills in the library. While she focused on her past life memories, the mosquito was busy inside his box, organizing over 200 underlings for their upcoming debut. The atmosphere in Class 8 was noticeably more tense than yesterday as everyone scrambled to bond with their beasts before the examination. Haeyun walking in caused a small stir, with Sono's wind blade wolf yawning lazily near his desk. Son watched her sit in the back with a glare of lingering resentment still stinging from her rejection the previous day. He muttered to himself that she was an ungrateful piece of trash who had ruined her life with a mosquito. Convinced she would be crying once the joint exam arrived, he was determined to regain his dignity today by showing off his superior power. Most students eventually ignored her, seeing a mosquito tamer as someone beneath their notice, which allowed Haeyun to sink into her books in peace. Inside the box, however, the mosquito was delivering a high-stakes briefing to his troops. He designated the winged husky as their target for Operation Buffet. Step 1 involved the flight squadron of flies and moths, providing high-altitude harassment to draw the attention of both the wolf and its master. Step 2 tasked the ground team with swarming the floor and desks to maximize the chaos. Finally, as the commander and the only one actually dining, he would use the distraction to launch a surprise strike and secure his meal. He waited for the perfect window, which arrived with the recess bell. As the teacher departed and students began congregating to discuss their beasts, Sono seized his moment. He spoke loudly to attract attention, announcing that his wind blade wolf had learned a new skill. He shot a glance at Haeyun, and when she did not react, he grew even more irritated. With a sharp thought, he commanded the wolf to growl and spit out a crescent-shaped blade of wind. the projectile whistled through the air, precisely slicing the tip off a piece of chalk, which immediately drew a chorus of cheers from the surrounding students. They marveled at the accuracy of his intermediate bloodline monster, predicting a top 20 finish for him. The joint exam, exclamations of wonder and envy immediately rippled through the classroom, fueling Sono's vanity until the smile on his face grew truly radiant. He glanced toward Heian again, his eyes lingering on the unremarkable plastic box on her desk with a mocking smirk. Honestly, the audacity of this guy. He was busy comparing his prestigious beast to the mosquito's tiny form, believing that a mosquito was good for nothing but sucking blood and was not even worthy of scratching his wind-blade wolf's itch. He was so caught up in his own glory that he completely missed the chaotic storm brewing right under his nose. He decides it is time and internally gives the order to commence the operation. In an instant, dozens of flies and moths materialize out of nowhere, right in the middle of the classroom, diving toward the gloating Sono and his entourage like out-of-control bombers. Chaos erupts immediately as students begin shouting about where the flies came from and why the school has not been cleaned, while one girl even faints from the sheer fright of the buzzing swarm. Sono and his peers are stunned by the sudden air raid, frantically waving their arms to drive away the pests. But get this, it gets much worse. A rhythmic rustling follows as hundreds of cockroaches and bedbugs surge out from every corner like a dark tide, swarming up the desks and onto the students' legs. Piercing screams fill the air, and the room descends into absolute pandemonium, with everyone terrified by the sudden insect plague. Nobody has the presence of mind to worry about the wind blade wolf, which is growling incessantly and swatting at the intruders with its claws. He moves now, seizing this perfect opportunity, slipping through a small crack in the plastic box and zipping out. He flies at an unbelievable speed, faster than any normal insect, tracing an invisible line to land with pinpoint accuracy on the wolf's back. The creature's fur is thick like a layer of green armor, but he is not about to be reckless. He uses his tiny size to weave rapidly through the fur, searching for a weakness like an experienced hunter until he finds a spot on the back of its neck where the skin is soft and the hair is sparse. He chuckles to himself, mentally telling the little wolf pup that his grandpa mosquito has arrived. Without hesitation, he aims his level 2 proboscis at the weak point and stabs down. A faint sound of sharp metal entering flesh follows, and while his proboscis is not yet strong enough to ignore a beast's natural defense, it is more than sufficient for a vulnerable spot like this. The wind blade wolf jerks in pain, letting out a sharp yelp, but before it can react, a stream of pure, scalding, and highly active blood surges through his proboscis and into his body. The system notifications begin to flood his mind, warning him about the massive intake of blood energy and the limits of his endurance, but the final tally leaves him stunned. He has taken 5.5 blood chi, bringing his total to 11.6. This officially meets the conditions for his second evolution. He is shocked that a single mouthful had yielded so much, but he quickly realizes why. The spiritual green snake he had fed on earlier was a dead hatchling with severe vitality loss, whereas this wind blade wolf is a living, breathing creature at the first grade. Naturally, the effects are on a different level. He feels his stomach stretched to its absolute limit, so he withdraws his proboscis and takes advantage of the lingering chaos to fly back into the plastic box. The entire process is as smooth as flowing water, taking less than 10 seconds from start to finish. Heian remains at her desk, frowning with disgust as she uses a book to swat away a cockroach. Despite her confusion over the sudden plague, she does not link the commotion to her supposedly useless contracted beast. In her world, Mosquito simply was not capable of such a feat. The teacher eventually intervenes to calm the class, and the insects vanish as quickly as they had arrived. He recalled every underling back into the Zerg Space with a single thought: leaving behind nothing but absolute chaos and terrified classmates. Most people assumed the bugs had simply flown away, while others questioned their own eyes. The school would eventually order a massive disinfection. But that was a problem for later. He lay in his plastic box, excitedly reviewing the system panel, with 11.6 blood chi and 1 evolution point, the conditions for his second evolution were finally ready. He suppressed the urge to evolve, immediately knowing the classroom was too public and unsafe for such a transformation. He decided to wait until he got home, filled with anticipation for what surprises this next step would bring. He wondered if he would finally break the limitations of his species and become a true demonic beast. The system quickly doused his excitement, informing him that 10 blood chi was only the level of a common small animal, and that he would need 100 to reach the threshold of a first-grade demonic beast. He was momentarily annoyed, realizing that, despite his hard work, he was still being ranked so low. However, when the system reminded him that it had only been 2 days since his transmigration, he decided, patiently waiting, with more evolutions on the horizon, his growth would definitely speed up. A faint smile played on his lips as he resolved to conquer this world one steady step at a time. Having finally endured the long hours until school was over, he remained in a state of pure excitement. He didn't want to wait a single second longer. He simply wanted to initiate his second evolution immediately. Haeyeon noticed his restlessness, but she naturally assumed he was either hungry again or bored from sitting in the classroom. Her cold face remained expressionless, though he could sense her mental snort as she labeled him an insatiable fellow. Little did she know that her insatiable companion was on the verge of an earth-shattering transformation. Once they returned to the small, dilapidated rental room, the routine continued. Haeyeon tossed her school bag and his plastic prison onto the table, preparing to retrieve her cultivation resource, the spiritual green snake corpse, from under the bed. Seeing that the coast was clear, he issued the command in his mind for the system to start the evolution. The notification confirmed that he had met the conditions, consumed 1 evolution point, and estimated a 5-hour duration for the process. As the notification faded, his vision went dark, and the familiar pull of a deep sleep swallowed his consciousness. Inside the plastic box, his body, originally a mere 1.5 centimeters, was quickly wrapped in a thick cocoon that emitted a faint, pulsing red light. Haeyeon, reaching for the snake corpse, froze as she felt their mental connection blur as if obstructed by frosted glass. She turned in confusion and stared at the box, witnessing the mosquito transform into a dark red cocoon that beat rhythmically like a tiny heart. Her pupils shrank in disbelief as she realized it had only been a single day since his last evolution. This speed overturned everything she knew from 2 lifetimes, and as she stared at the pulsing cocoon, her shock and confusion gave way to a burgeoning sense of anticipation. She began to realize that perhaps he wasn't just a burden after all. Time ticked away until the sky turned completely dark, and a sharp cracking sound echoes from the plastic box, jolting Haeyeon right out of her cultivation. Her gaze locks onto the red cocoon as tiny cracks begin spreading across its surface. A powerful new limb suddenly stretches out. Then several more follow, until the entire cocoon shatters with a soft pop. Even with her usual empress-like composure, she cannot help but gasp at the sight. His new form is incredible, transforming him into a giant 10-centimeter-long creature. He is pitch black like ink, body shimmering with a cold metallic luster. He stretches his body, testing wings that have hardened into 2 sharp blades. Their edges glint in the light as his 6 limbs transform into spiked sickles. Waking up, he immediately opens his status panel to check his latest evolution. He is now a blade-winged blood mosquito, with his lifespan soaring to 93 days. His size has exploded 10 times over, but the skills are even better. He gained a new attack called Wing Blade Slash, and his proboscis upgraded. It is now a deadly level 3 armor-piercing spike. He realizes that every racial evolution comes with a chance to upgrade skills. This is a brilliant surprise, prompting him to check the details right away. His proboscis is now comparable to a high-grade sharp weapon of pure destruction. He can easily pierce rank 1 demon armor, while wing blade slash does more. He can vibrate his wings to launch sharp blades of wind element, getting excited. He almost knocks the lid off his box while flapping his wings hard. They slice through the air with a sharp whistle, tempting him to test them. Activating the wing blade slash, a pale, nearly invisible wind blade shoots forward. It strikes the inner wall of his plastic box with a loud metallic clang. The wind blade slices a clean hole straight through the thick plastic wall. He is stunned by this level 1 power, already imagining himself splitting mountains. Meanwhile, his armor-piercing spike glints coldly with a sharp metallic light. It looks strong enough to pierce straight through a solid steel plate. He feels completely invincible, like the absolute Rambo of the insect world. But once the rush fades, he checks the requirements for his next evolution. He needs 100 blood Kai and 10 evolution points. The tenfold increase means he is going to be incredibly busy moving forward. He reigns in his excitement, focusing entirely on the long journey ahead. Looking around for a late-night snack, he immediately rules out Heian. She is his long-term meal ticket, and as a first-grade martial artist, her current blood Kai is simply far too weak to bother with. Taking a sip from her now would be like drinking plain, flavorless water. It would not even fill the gaps between his teeth. He has better targets. Peering through the narrow slit he sliced in the box, his gaze locks. He spots the large black bag, hidden away right under the bed. A high-level lineage snake blood buffet is waiting, and honestly, who could blame him for drooling? But he has to be patient, since Heian is still wide awake. Snacking right in front of her is a guaranteed way to get caught. So he lies flat in the box, playing dead until she finally relaxes. Her mood remains deeply complicated as she stares at her strange pet. She quietly cleans up the dried remains scattered across the floor. Heian finally collapsed from sheer physical and mental exhaustion, sleeping deeply. This was the perfect chance. Once her breathing turned slow and steady, he carefully crawled out of hiding and took off, keeping his wings silent. Silence, he drifted like a harmless breeze, landing right by her bag. The opening of the bag was loose, practically inviting him to slide inside. Slipping through effortlessly, a rich, sweet aroma immediately washed over him. Time to feast, he landed on the dead snake and drove his Level 3 armor-piercing spiked deep into the flesh, no resistance this time. The thick, scaly skin that usually stopped normal bugs felt like paper. Pure, majestic demon beast essence blood rushed inside, charging his tiny cells. And get this, the system notifications immediately flooded his vision with gains. He pulled in 3.2, 3.5, and 3.3 blood Kai. There was no warning because his newly evolved body easily handled the power. The beast drank like a starving man, his tiny belly swelled up, looking like a bloated red balloon, almost larger than his body. With one massive gulp, he absorbed 10.5 blood Kai, hitting 22.1. Even digestion time cut down to a single hour, tripling his efficiency. He realized he could easily walk away with 50 blood Kai by dawn. He lay beside the corpse, digesting for an hour before the hunger hit again. Diving back in, a second gulp secured another 9.8 blood Kai. Another round, he added 8.5 more. The night was a frenzy. Gulp down, digest, and repeat, working like a peasant emptying a granary. He went back for 7 full rounds, only stopping on the 8th when he realized the demon corpse was picked completely clean, leaving nothing but bloody water. Dawn broke. With a full belly, he let out a satisfied burp. Once the final digestion cleared, his status screen made his mood skyrocket. His blood Kai hit 48.5, with evolution points sitting at 16.5. He felt a slight pang of regret that the snake was dry, but quietly flew back to the table and settled inside his box to ponder his choices. Maybe he should upgrade his armor-piercing spike or the wing blade slash. Total silence, but then Heian finally started to wake up. She stretched, feeling deeply refreshed, and habitually reached under her bed for the bag. And right here she instantly freezes. The heavy black bag feels entirely weightless. An ominous dread gripped her as she yanked the bag out and ripped it open. Her pupils shrank in absolute horror. Instead of a plump demon snake corpse, there was only a shriveled, dry skin that looked like it had aged 10 years. A suffocating silence hung in the room before a monstrous roar of pure fury. And total confusion boomed through the mental link, screaming in agony. She wept for her precious green snake, her mind completely shattered by grief. Staring at the dried remains, her gaze suddenly whipped toward him like a blade. She knew only he could have done this. Her entire net worth was gone. Every resource she gambled for her breakthrough had been completely sucked dry. A single mosquito ruined everything. Her thoughts trembled with pure disbelief. To her, this entire disaster was completely impossible and defied all logic. A mere mosquito should have exploded from absorbing that much raw power. Ever learned across 2 lifetimes, she stood there, completely shattered by a reality she could not comprehend. Alongside her burning anger, a deeper shock surged from deep within her heart. Right when her fury peaked, she felt it, a distinct feedback through the blood contract, force flowing from the mosquito's body straight into her own. Typically, a contracted beast feeds back 1/10 of its power to its master, but because he had been so weak, she had not noticed the sensation until now. But as she perceived the abnormally vigorous energy within him, she realized his blood chi had reached nearly 50 points. She calculated the number in her head, and the realization made her scalp tingle. 50 points of blood energy was still a far cry from the 100 points required to be a first-grade monster beast, but it was already equivalent to an adult wild wolf or a half-grown wild boar. In just 2 short days, a common insect with a negligible lifespan had grown into a monster comparable to a wild beast. Her gaze shifted from disgust and helplessness into a look of profound shock and curiosity, as if she were staring at an unknown mythical creature. She even started wondering if her true opportunity in this life was actually this contract instead of her rebirth. Facing her silent questioning, he calmly waved his blade-like wings and transmitted his thoughts. He told her not to get excited over a dead snake, pointing out that since they both got stronger, it was a win-win situation. He even nudged her about her snail-like cultivation speed, noting that by the time she finished that snake on her own, the opportunity would have passed, and she really needed his high efficiency. Results: the smug emotion he projected, telling her not to make a fuss because this was for their own good, hit her mind with perfect clarity. Heian looked as if she were about to be driven to madness, nearly spitting out a mouthful of blood. It was clear she was fuming because he had eaten her resources and then had the nerve to complain that she ate too slowly, yet she could not refute the logic. If he got stronger, she received feedback, and his efficiency was undeniably superior. She took a deep breath, suppressing the urge to swat him, and began to analyze her predicament, regardless of his mysterious background. Her resources were gone, with only 10 days left until the joint examination, and her strength only at the first-grade mid-stage. She knew she had to hit the second grade to win the prize money and the king grade cup. Without resources, that goal was a fantasy, so she decided she had to find another high bloodline beast, since she was a complete pauper who could not even afford next month's rent. Buying one was out of the question. That left her with only one risky option: the Black Forest. It was a vast primeval forest outside Jiang City, filled with monsters, serving as a training ground for students and a hunting territory for martial artists. By accepting missions there, she could earn the rewards she needed to solve her financial crisis, and perhaps even stumble upon unexpected gains like a rare treasure or the remains of a high-level beast fight. Though the chances were slim, it was her only hope. With a flash of determination, she packed her things and ordered him to follow her. He was busy pondering his evolution points when the order came, and he wondered if they were going somewhere with more delicious food. He flew up and he landed steadily on her shoulder, foregoing the box. Heian knew he no longer needed protection. With 50 points of blood energy, an ordinary man could not even beat him. Together, the duo pushed right through the entrance. Armed only with a dagger and her remaining savings, they headed for the Lingmu Hall. The Jiang City Lingmu Hall was a massive high-tech building in the city center. It bustled with martial artists and beast tamers trading resources and taking on missions. Large electronic screens scrolled constantly through various available tasks. These ranged from hunting ironhide pigs for 30,000 coins to Class B missions targeting wolf kings for 500,000. Heian walked right through. She walked through the noisy crowd with cold detachment, heading straight for registration. Perched on her shoulder, he used his blood food tracking to scan the room. He could easily see the varying strength of absolutely everyone in the hall. To him, this place felt like a massive, mobile self-service blood bank. It was packed with experts whose blood energy glowed like searchlights. He immediately marked this bustling hall as his primary foraging point for the future. Right as Heian joined the queue to register, "Wait, look who just showed up." A shocked voice called out her name, making them both turn to look. It was Sono and some classmates, staring at them like they had seen a ghost. Specifically, they were staring at the strange insect sitting proudly on her shoulder. Sono's voice cracked with pure shock as he pointed, his eyes widening. His eyes bulged like copper bells, and the surrounding classmates were equally stunned. They rubbed their eyes vigorously, completely unable to believe what they were seeing. They whispered among themselves, questioning how Heian's mosquito had changed so much. To them, his new appearance was simply too impactful to ignore. Shimmering with a dangerous metallic luster, the beast was now 10 centimeters long. He looked nothing like the fragile insect they remembered. Sono stepped forward. Staring fixedly at the beast, he asked Heian how it became this way. From his high perch, the mosquito took in their utter disbelief with immense satisfaction. He chuckled internally. This was only a small taste of what was coming. Once he evolved a few more times and grew large enough to blot out the sky, their fear would be even more amusing. To prove a point, he vibrated his wings. He vibrated his blade-like wings, producing a metallic buzzing sound. This sent the group scurrying back in alarm, while Heian remained indifferent. She merely glanced at the shocked boy before turning back to wait in line. Her cold, standoffish attitude made Sono's fake smile stiffen up immediately. Talk about embarrassing, he was left completely ignored in public yet again. The awkward gazes of his classmates clearly bothered him, but he forced composure. As a top student in the beast taming department, his foundational knowledge was solid. He loudly proclaimed that the mosquito was just a mutated exotic species. This rare mutation explanation was quickly accepted by the curious crowd. Their fear immediately transitioned into simple curiosity, and Sono regained his momentum. He explained that while an exotic species might sound impressive on paper, the base form was still just a fragile mosquito with incredibly poor foundations. He sensed the mosquito's internal blood vitality and announced its actual power. It was at most 40 or 50 points, dismissing the beast as a hollow shell. That blade wolf boasted of its intermediate bloodline and 80 points of blood vitality at birth. He claimed the mosquito's evolutionary potential would cap at 3 transformations. This meant Heian would never reach the 5th grade or contract a second beast. The surrounding students nodded in agreement as Sono regained his confidence. He stepped toward them again, adopting a tone of experienced maturity, reminding Heian that the Black Forest was dangerous. He offered to let her join his team for a D-grade mission hunting ironhide pigs. promising her a share of the reward, acting like he actually cared about her. Heian did not even bother turning her head. It was finally her turn at the counter. She handed over her student ID, asking to register for a mission. In a cold, steady voice, the receptionist took her ID, but his eyelids twitched as his gaze fell on the beast. Looking at the data on his screen, he noted that the records listed a white-striped mosquito, then stared back at its ferocious form with a completely baffled expression. When he tentatively asked if her registration needed updating, Heian simply refused, clearly finding any further explanation to be a total waste of time. The clerk did not press the issue, processing her acceptance of the D-grade mission to hunt 3 first-grade, early-stage ironhide pigs. Heian took her mission voucher and walked toward the exit without sparing Sono a single glance. Her clean, decisive movements left Sono looking uncomfortable. Talk about satisfying to watch. His smile faded into pure annoyance. His companions whispered about her arrogance, questioning if she had lost her mind trying to hunt ironhide pigs with nothing but a mosquito. Sono faked some generosity, wishing her luck, while secretly anticipating her failure. Honestly, what a petty guy. He could not wait to watch the fallout. Soon, they arrived at the Black Forest outside Jiangchun shortly after leaving the city, and the shift in the atmosphere was immediate. The air became heavy and damp, thick with the scent of fresh soil and lush vegetation, though it was underlined by the lingering, distinctive stench of demonic beasts. Perched firmly on her shoulder, the mosquito surveyed this new environment with genuine curiosity and a growing sense of excitement. The scenery was actually quite beautiful, but for the beast, the real draw was how its blood food tracking skill reacted to this place. It was like a fish returning to water. The sheer volume of life signals within its perception was enough to make its head spin. Most of the signals belonged to insignificant small animals, but occasionally it sensed the powerful, rhythmic fluctuations of high-level blood chi. To the mosquito, those weren't just monsters, they were field bosses marked on a map, practically glowing with temptation. It was eager to get started and conveyed its thoughts to the beast taming empress, pointing out a particularly fat, unlucky rabbit about 100 meters away. Heian, however, completely ignored its suggestion. Her cold, clear eyes were locked onto the ground, scanning for traces with the clinical precision of a master hunter. Tracking prey was an instinct carved into her very soul from her previous life, and she moved with total confidence. She noted that the footprints were fresh and the soil still damp, indicating a herd of ironhide pigs had passed through within the last half hour. Judging by analyzing the chaotic hoof prints, she estimated over 10 of them were all heading toward the upstream water source. Without saying a word, she strode forward, her movements as light and silent as a civet cat. She wove through the dense woodland so smoothly that he barely felt a jolt on her shoulder. He watched her in amazement, his respect for her professional skills increasing by the second. Reincarnators really are built differently. Her expertise was top-notch, and he knew that following her would lead to a feast. After 10 minutes of stealthy movement, she stopped behind a bush and carefully parted the branches to reveal their target. A large herd of dark, hulking ironhide pigs was gathered in a clearing just ahead. They looked like massive domestic pigs, but were encased in rock-hard black skin, their tusks glinting with a lethal cold light. He stretched his neck to get a better look, and his status scan made his heart race. There were several first-grade early-stage pigs with blood chi around 190, but the first-grade pig king stood in the center. Late-stage beast with nearly 400 blood chi points. To him, it wasn't a threat but a luxurious buffet. He excitedly rubbed his front legs together at the sight of so much potential blood energy, but Heian's reaction was far more cautious. She silently analyzed the situation, noting that 15 pigs, including a late-stage king, were too many to handle at once. Even with her mid-stage strength, she knew getting surrounded would be a death Sentence, she needed a way to lure them away and pick them off one by one. Yet, she struggled to find a method that wouldn't alert the entire herd, as he felt her hesitation, and honestly he felt pretty smug. He realized that while she was the expert on tracking, she didn't quite understand how to handle brainless brutes like these with his own level of directness. He didn't even bother to warn her. With a single thought, he unleashed the 500 ragtag troops from his Zerg space all at once. The space around them darkened instantly, as a massive swirling cloud of flies, moths, cockroaches, and stink bugs materialized and surged toward the herd like an organic tide. He gave the order for all units to focus a mental pollution attack on the third pig on the left. The swarm locked onto its target with suicidal precision. Flies and moths dove into its eyes and nostrils, while cockroaches burrowed into the gaps of its natural armor, scratching and biting frantically. The ironhide pig, which had been peacefully rooting through the dirt, was suddenly subjected to a nightmare of all-around harassment. It shook its head and stomped its hooves in a desperate attempt to drive the pests away, but the sheer volume of the swarm was relentless. For every bug it shook off, 10 more took its place. Finally, howling with irritation, the pig broke away from the herd and bolted toward a nearby pond, desperate to drown the insects. This sudden, chaotic scene left Heian absolutely stunned. A dazed expression broke through her icy facade. For the first time, as she watched the disciplined cloud of insects drive the monster away, her mind went completely blank, wondering where they had come from and how they could possibly be so organized. Then, a memory of the classroom incident yesterday flashed in her mind. She turned her head abruptly to look at him as he sat leisurely preening his wings on her shoulder. She stared at him like she had just seen a ghost, harboring a wild guess. It felt utterly unscientific. Could a mere mosquito actually possess a swarm consciousness? His very existence was shattering her entire worldview. There was zero time to think now. A sharp light flashed in Heian's eyes as she quickly suppressed her shock. Whatever was actually happening, she knew she could not let such a perfect opportunity slip by. She turned to the insect with a silent question. The little guy was incredibly sharp and understood her immediately. Smugly, he sent a mental message telling her not to worry, leave it to him. With one command, he recalled his swarm of little brothers back into his space, clearing a perfect attack route for her. In the next second, Heian dashed forward. She was like an arrow released from a bow, silently charging the isolated ironhide pig. The beast just reached the water's edge when it felt a sudden vicious wind from behind. It whipped its head around, only to see a cold flash of light zip past its eyes, relying on her precise power. As an empress, she drove her dagger deep into the pig's eye socket. Straight into its brain. Done. The massive body crashed without a single scream. Its life ended in one clean, efficient strike, dragging the carcass into the tall grass to hide it. She breathed a sigh of relief. This kill would finish things. She had zero intention of using the 10,000 beasts furnace art on a creature without a proper bloodline. The impurities were too high, and the chaotic will pose too much risk. But just because she was not interested, that did not mean he was going to be polite. He leaped down, landing on the pig. Thrusting his armor-piercing spike deep into the flesh, the system notified him that he absorbed 5.8 vitality, warning him about the low blood quality and bad conversion rates. He paused, a bit annoyed that a 400-pound pig yielded under 6 points, but he quickly realized that a demonic beast's bloodline directly determined the overall efficiency of his feeding. This ironhide pig was basically water-bloated garbage with barely any real nutritional value. Still, meat is meat. And he was not about to be picky. He wobbled back up, letting out a satisfied burp. Heian returned, looking at the remaining 14 pigs, falling deep into thought about how to handle the final 2 she needed to complete the mission. Seeing right through her, he released his insect army. once again launching a mental pollution attack on an unlucky target. At the very edge, she watched the cloud of insects strike with absolute precision, her pretty face completely frozen in bewilderment. She was now certain he was the source, but how this was even possible defied all logic of beast taming. Her view of this tiny mosquito underwent an earth-shattering change, filled with conflicting emotions. Honestly, who could blame her for totally spacing out? He eventually lured another pig out to snap her out of it, and she seized the chance to kill it cleanly. The third pig quickly followed, and as she stood over the carcasses, finally, she let out a long breath. The mission was finished, but looking back at the 12 remaining pigs nearby and then back at him, a wild idea takes root. Since it was so easy, she decides to take them all out. Every pig is worth 10,000 yuan, meaning the total would top 100,000, easily enough for better cultivation resources. A flash of decisiveness fitting an empress flickers in her eyes as she gives the word. Over the next hour, pure slaughter. One by one, the pigs are cornered, isolated by his insects. They are finished off by the ghost-like girl. Even the first-grade late-stage pig king only lasts a few minutes. He falls before his insect sea and her ruthless strikes, landing in a pool of blood. Total overkill. Heian wipes her dagger, smiling. Realizing she cannot carry them all at once, she ties the 3 smallest ones with vines to turn in the mission first, and covers the rest with leaves. Meanwhile, he sucks every carcass dry, finally landing on the pig king to drain his last drop. His total vitality surges to 86.9, gaining 5 evolution points, bringing his total to 22.8. Only 13.1 points left until his 3rd evolution. He is absolutely thrilled. The pigs are squeezed so dry that even their marrow is gone, but he is in no rush. He might find another victim on the way. Back, Xianho and his classmates stand completely frozen at the edge of the clearing, their eyes practically popping out of their sockets. They only walked a few steps after stumbling away from their own injured windblade wolf when a heavy, suffocating, bloody stench drifts over, and they subconsciously follow the scent like dogs chasing fresh meat. Honestly, they have no idea what they are about to find at the patch of forest that Heian and the creature cleared out, and the scene before them is a pure nightmare. On the ground, blood flows like a small river. Chaotic hoofprints crisscross the soil. Heavy battle scars mark every tree trunk, and the dirt itself is stained a deep, dark red, so thoroughly that it looks far more like rust than actual earth. Xianho snorts in disbelief. This is, he stammers, his voice trembling as if his throat has gone dry. It is the blood of an ironhide pig, no mistake about it, one classmate says, crouching to pinch a bit of soil in horror. At least a dozen died here, a dozen wiped out. The group looks at each other, shock and disbelief written all over their faces. Are you kidding me? The tall, thin classmate whispers. The herd we ran into earlier only had about 12. Right? Who on earth did this? This is too fierce. Absolute next level. Entirely. Xianho's brain spins rapidly, and the gears are practically grinding behind his eyes as they click into place. He reaches what he is sure must be the only correct conclusion. He speaks with certainty, the pride of a beast tamer who solved the mystery, to silently wipe out an entire herd so quickly, without even letting the pig king escape. This was definitely done by a professional team from the Monster Hunting Guild, he declares, his voice full of confidence, and it must be an elite squad led by a powerful martial artist. Coordination like that takes years. The more he speaks, the more it makes sense. He stares at the battlefield with sheer. His voice drops in pure awe, examining the scene like a masterpiece left by some legendary squad. Sweeping his hand toward the dirt, he professionally continues. Look closely, he says. There are traces everywhere, but it is not messy. This battle was handled with absolute, terrifying control. The killer did not let the beasts escape. This method is pure art. The other students nod in agreement, their eyes scanning the woods with deep dread, terrified that this elite hunter is still lurking nearby, ready to mistake them for thieves. They creep along the bloody trail, stepping with extreme caution for a few dozen meters, avoiding the thick splatters of blood on the dirt. Carefully navigating the mess, soon they spot a massive pile of iron-hide pig carcasses that Heian and the giant mosquito hid under the leaves. Looking at the small mountain of monster bodies, the students swallow hard. Damn, at least a dozen iron-hide pig carcasses. If they sold all of these, how much money would they make? A dark thought strikes all of them at once. Exact same greedy urge. Licking his dry lips, the tall student mutters, "Should we do it? Why not just take 3? No one is here anyway. And there are no cameras." Xianho's chest begins pounding with intense anxiety. Reason warns him that stealing another warrior's kill is an absolute taboo in the wild. It is the type of mistake that gets people quietly murdered and dumped in a shallow pit. The consequences would be nightmare level if the owner returns. Honestly, the greed is blinding them. Taking just 3 would complete their entire mission. If they grab one more, they can easily pay to treat their injured wind-blade wolf. Still suffering back in the dirt, Xianho struggles with the intense moral conflict, warily scanning the dense forest shadows one more time. His gaze scanning the trees, he confirms that nobody is watching them and that the elite hunting squad has already left. Temptation finally breaks his resolve. Gritting his teeth, he tells them to do it. The teenagers immediately scramble, tossing aside the branches and diving into the pile to pick out 3 prime carcasses. They whisper and laugh with nervous excitement, giggling like typical thieves who believe they just got away with a crime. But right as their greedy fingers are about to touch the cold flesh, an icy voice cuts through the silent woods right behind them. "What are you doing?" she asks. Xianho and his friends instantly freeze. As if struck by absolute frost, cold sweat breaks out on their brows. They slowly turn their heads like characters in a horror movie, realizing they have been caught red-handed. Under a nearby tree, a figure stands. Heian is waiting calmly, a hideous giant mosquito resting on her shoulder. That monstrous insect is the main character himself, her frigid eyes watch them like a butcher sizing up helpless cattle. Gu Yuezai. Xianho stammers in disbelief. His stunned classmates stand completely frozen, their hearts that had jumped into their throats sink back down in pure relief. A wave of calm washes over the group. It is just her. A total false alarm. They would never suspect the truth for a second. To them, the idea of Heian causing this massacre is an absolute joke. How could she, a weak first-grade early-stage martial artist, do this? And with a mutated mosquito that doesn't even have a monster grade. Seriously, could she actually wipe out a whole herd of iron-hide pigs? Even the Pig King would laugh. They assume she just got incredibly lucky. She must have stumbled on a treasure left by someone else. "Oh, it is. You scared me," the tall, thin classmate says, slapping his chest. Xianho relaxes a bit, though he is still secretly nervous inside. After all, they were just caught red-handed trying to steal. He clears his throat and acts like absolutely nothing is wrong. He asks Heian if she found this place too, calling it good luck. His voice slides right back into that familiar smug tone. He glances at the massive pile of pig carcasses, eyes calculating. He lowers his voice to sound reasonable and suggests a deal. He says they should pretend they saw nothing today and not take everything. That way, the real owner of the kill won't come back to cause trouble. His group will take 3 pigs, Heian gets 1, and they leave immediately. He asks if that sounds fair, boasting about how incredibly generous he is being. He acts like giving just 1 iron-hide pig to her is a massive favor. He behaves as if he is doing her some kind of major life-saving kindness. To him, letting her have any share at all is already a gift. A weak first-grade martial artist carrying off even 1 pig is plenty. He assumes there is absolutely no reason for her to reject this offer. Share one with me, Heian repeats, so incredibly angry she actually laughs. It is a short, ice-cold laugh that holds absolutely zero humor in it. She tells them directly, these iron hide pigs were all killed by me. The air instantly freezes solid, and the smug expressions on their faces twist. Honestly, their collective grimace is so bad it is almost painful to watch. It is a genuinely spectacular sight to behold. After a few tense seconds, the tall, thin classmate bursts out laughing. He snorts and asks if she has even woken up yet from her daydream. Or maybe she suffered some kind of serious brain damage out here. He mockingly points out her tiny frame and the insect on her shoulder. What did she supposedly use to kill them, that giant useless bug? Did she use her mouth? Another classmate joins in. There are over a dozen dead pigs here, including the Pig King. That is a first-grade late-stage beast. Even their 5-person team ran. Yet she expects them to believe she took this entire group down alone. They all stare at her like she is some kind of psycho. No wonder she contracted a mosquito. She is completely out of her mind. Xianho shakes his head, wearing a deeply disappointed, high and mighty expression. He admits he thought she was just cold, not incredibly vain and delusional. He tells her to just admit she wants to hog all the loot. He loses his patience entirely and refuses to waste another breath on her. Without another word, he simply waves his hand to signal his team. Classmates, they should just ignore her, take 3 and leave, perched on Heian's shoulder. The little companion sees and hears everything, thoroughly amused to the point of laughter. Unbelievable, these brats have bizarre thought processes. Caught red-handed stealing, they do not even run. Instead, they turn around and accuse the owner of being the thief. How can anyone tolerate this absolute nonsense? They seriously deserve a beating. The creature has been annoyed with Xianho for ages. And watching this play out only makes it angrier. Meanwhile, Heian's eyes also turn icy cold. A faint trace of killing intent quietly gathers in the depths of her gaze. This annoying guy, Xianho, has been constantly trying to show off in front of her like a buzzing fly, which was already starting to irritate her. Now that he is pulling a stunt like this, her irritation has reached its breaking point. Should she just eliminate these annoying bugs right here? This is the Black Forest, after all. It is perfectly normal for a few students to go missing every single year, leaving their bones to bleach white under the leaves long before anyone looks. With her strength and the companion's support, dealing with these injured remnants would require almost no effort at all. Xianho's wind Blade Wolf is currently as weak as a common mutt and poses no threat at all anymore. However, just then, a series of heavy footsteps echoes from the nearby woods. Soon after, a group of 5 people emerges from the forest. All 5 wear matching black combat uniforms and carry a heavy, murderous aura, clearly professionals who live their lives on the edge of a blade. Leading them is a burly middle-aged man with a cold expression. The companion instinctively looks over, and its blood food tracking skill instantly reveals the target, Hu Feng. 2nd grade peak, blood Chi around 1987 points, a 2nd grade peak martial artist. The creature is startled. It can clearly sense that the blood Chi within this middle-aged man is on a completely different level compared to all the 1st grade martial artists seen before. If a 1st grade martial artist's blood Chi value feels like a bright, piercing 100-watt bulb, the blood Chi inside this man is like a small raging boiler. That power is not just vast in quantity, it is more condensed and pure, brimming with an explosive sense of strength. 2nd grade peak, the creature thinks, secretly shocked while also gaining a clearer understanding of the power levels in this world. So, the gap between 1st grade and 2nd grade is this massive. A 2nd grade peak actually has nearly 2,000 blood Chi value. It feels a bit bitter about its own blood Chi value of less than 100, which is not much to look at by comparison. These people are clearly a professional squad from some hunting Guild and Gangsong likely just passing through and coming to investigate after. Seeing the commotion of so much spilled blood, however, their sudden appearance immediately terrifies Xianho and his group. It is over, they think they have. Run straight into the rightful owners. Xianho's mind goes blank with a loud buzz inside his skull. Damn it, with this professional aura and powerful strength, this has to be the elite squad that hunted the pig herd. Caught red-handed while stealing. There is no way to explain this away now. No clever excuse could possibly work. A strong survival instinct causes Xianho's brain. In just a single second of frozen panic, he pulls off a genius, desperate move. He suddenly points his finger right at Heian, his face twisting into an of sheer, self-righteous anger, screaming that the seniors arrived just in time. He claims this greedy woman wants to keep all their hard-earned prey for herself. His group apparently could not just watch, but when they tried to persuade her, she refused. Now he begs for justice, leaving Heian and the little mosquito completely dumbfounded. Both human and bug are speechless. Does he seriously have a death wish? This skill of framing others before they can even speak is honestly mind-blowing. I mean, you really have to wonder where he even learned this stuff. But the elite hunting squad is just bewildered. Their leader, Hu Feng, frowns. He looks at the pig carcasses on the ground, then stares directly at Xianho. Finally, he sweeps his cold gaze over them, as if looking at complete idiots. Idiots, he coolly spits out that word, ignoring these children entirely. With a simple wave of his hand, he leads his team right past them. They head straight toward the forest edge without ever looking back. To these pros, there are far more important things than dealing with childish nonsense. Xianho and his group stand frozen, completely stunned by that blunt insult. What just happened? Did they seriously just leave? They are not going to pursue this at all. Meanwhile, Heian and the mosquito stare intently after them. Both human and bug are suddenly filled with deep, heavy suspicion. The exact moment that squad walked past, they both sensed something was wrong. A thick, heavy scent of blood from an elite bloodline demon beast was coming off those team members. The scent was incredibly pure. It was even purer than the spiritual green snake from before. What is happening? Heian is deeply shaken, her thoughts screaming through the blood contract. Every single word is clear. Had they actually hunted a high-level bloodline beast? That seems impossible. Once they reach adulthood, elite beasts are at least 7th grade existences. How could a squad whose strongest is only peak 2nd grade pull that off? Could it be a cub, but elite beasts never leave their mother's side before reaching full maturity, unless a startling possibility surfaces in her mind. Did something happen to it? Was it heavily injured? Had its overall strength completely plummeted? Regardless, a massive opportunity is hidden right behind all of this. The blood of an elite bloodline beast is exactly what she lacks. Our little mosquito friend is also getting pretty excited about this. That powerful blood would be an absolute game changer for him, too. The green snake back in her rental was just a tiny cub, and yet he managed to drain dozens of high-value blood Kai points from it overnight. Imagine getting adult blood. He would be flying incredibly high. His eyes gleam. Over on the other side, Xianho and his group look around. After seeing the professional hunting squad walk away without looking back, the sheer confusion is written clear as day on everyone's faces. But slowly, that confusion turns into a sudden wave of wild joy. They actually left, and they didn't even take the massive pigs with them. They must look down on these low-level beast carcasses and simply don't care. They are absolutely rich now. It is a massive, unbelievable stroke of luck. The relief of surviving the nightmare instantly twists into pure, shameless greed. Hands rub together in frantic excitement, eyes burning as they stare at the pile. Those ironhide pig carcasses are theirs. Xianho himself is completely thrilled. He waves his hand dismissively, completely ignoring Heian, who still stands nearby. He yells to the others, "What are they waiting for? Hurry up." Grab one each, complete the task, and make a fortune. To him, Heian is nothing. She is just an irrelevant background character now, since the actual owners ran off. What could a crazy, quiet girl like her possibly do to stop them? The other students immediately scramble, rushing toward the massive pile of beasts. Meanwhile, Heian and the tiny mosquito silently watch the entire scene play out. The girl and the insect share a quick look, their minds instantly locked in. They have reached a silent consensus, just because they want the high-tier blood. It does not mean they are letting these pig carcasses go that easily. Time to open the Zerg Space. With a single thought, the mosquito unleashes his swarm. 500 insect underlings flood out without a single warning. The air vibrates. A thick, suffocating black cloud of bugs erupts like water bursting through a dam. The swarm instantly blankets the sky right above Xianho and his greedy classmates. What on earth is happening? The students are just grabbing the heavy carcasses. They stand completely frozen, totally dumbfounded by this sudden, terrifying nightmare. Before they can even process it, the black cloud swallows them whole. Screams erupt immediately. Ah, my eyes, help, they're crawling inside my nose. Don't bite me, get away. Panic, wild slapping, and terrified shrieks fill the clearing. It is absolute chaotic madness, even if these bugs lack real offensive power. Their overwhelming numbers are a physical torture. Hundreds of insects swarm them. They crawl right into eyes, ears, and mouths. It is an unbearable horror. This suffocating sensation is honestly worse than being stabbed repeatedly with a blade. Xianho desperately tries to scream commands at his beast, use wind blade. But his contracted wind blade wolf is already severely injured from earlier. Right now, dozens of crawling Zerg cockroaches completely cover the thrashing beast. It rolls frantically on the dirt, howling in agony, unable to cast anything. Here is where things get incredibly deadly. Right as they panic, the trap springs. Their formation is in complete disarray, and Heian moves forward like a ghost. She silently slips into the chaotic fray, her eyes lock onto her target. It is the tallest classmate. He is flailing his arms blindly in panic. He is desperately swatting at bugs, totally unaware that death has arrived. A sudden cold light flashes. The sharp dagger in her hand strikes out. Like the venomous fangs of a viper, she ruthlessly slashes his throat open. Hot blood instantly spurts out. The tall student stiffens up, freezing in place. His eyes widen in absolute terror and confusion as he collapses straight down. A clean, brutal one-hit kill. A nearby classmate spots the body and shrieks. He screams in sheer terror. Xianho turns and witnesses the horror himself. The color drains from his face. A freezing chill rushes straight up his spine. This is bad. This is a first-grade, mid-stage power. The exact moment Heian struck, he felt the terrifying surge of her energy. Look at the raw energy coming off her. That is definitely first-grade strength. How is this possible? Her martial arts talent was supposed to be trash. She was barely early stage during her senior year. When on Earth did she break? Through this level of combat power is completely insane. With mid-stage power, she just one-shotted an early-stage martial artist. Her battle instincts and sheer explosive power could easily rival a late-stage expert. And then there is that mosquito. Xianho quickly glances over at Heian's shoulder, only to realize the giant black bug has been completely steady as a mountain the entire time, totally unfazed by the surrounding insect swarm. Besides, those bugs appeared out of nowhere, attacking with perfect, unified precision. Suddenly, a terrifying realization hits him, making his entire scalp go completely numb. Is it actually possible that this giant mosquito is controlling the whole swarm? It has to be. No wonder there was that sudden, crazy bug infestation in the classroom yesterday, and why this deadly swarm showed up right on cue. What kind of absolute monster is this? It can evolve and command an entire swarm. If it possesses such a horrifying power, then that means those dead pigs. On the ground, Xianho's mind is completely blown as the pieces click. Everything makes perfect sense now. that means what she told him earlier was completely true. They actually killed those massive ironhide beasts all by themselves. The whole time he was nothing but a pathetic clown, feeling incredibly smug. Because he thought he found free loot left behind by some pro-hunting team. He was even bragging about his smart analysis, trying to take all the credit. Talk about a massive reality check. Absolute panic sets in and he must run. The desperate urge to survive kicks in, and Xianho forgets all about his pride. Leaving the valuable pig carcasses behind, he spins around to bolt into the woods. But the giant mosquito has already anticipated this move. He thinks he can run. With a simple thought, it commands its tiny underlings waiting in the grass. Go Squad 2, trip him up, dozens of crawling insects waiting below. Instantly surge out from the dirt, charging straight toward his feet. Xianho loses his footing completely as his balance is suddenly destroyed. With a heavy thud, he faceplants hard, crashing straight into the dirty ground. That tiny moment of delay is all she needs. Heian is already right behind him. Feeling her icy, lethal intent locking onto him, Xianho is absolutely terrified. He desperately rolls over to face her, with none of his former arrogance remaining. Only pure, suffocating dread and regret are written all over his face. Please do not kill me, he begs. I was wrong, the pigs are all yours. I do not want them anymore, just let me go, please. He completely panics. Not even caring about his own beast partner anymore. But the only reply is a pair of cold eyes and a flashing dagger. It is too late. The sharp blade comes down with deadly, clean efficiency. Just like that, his smug arrogance is gone forever, replaced by absolute horror. The remaining two classmates witness this and are completely paralyzed with fear. Their heads go totally blank. They are dealing with actual monsters here. They desperately scream for help, crying that they do not want to die. All they can do is scatter in opposite directions, running for their lives. Desperate screams ring out, but it is all in vain, under the relentless assault of his. Overwhelming insect swarm and Heian's ghostly hunt they cannot even make it 10 meters before dropping dead like their friend. Soon, the dark forest returns to absolute silence. Only the very heavy stench of blood and dead bodies on the ground remains. Heian walks over to Xianho's corpse, silently, wiping the fresh blood off her dagger, acting as if it is just a minor chore. For her, cutting the weeds out by the roots is survival. Meanwhile, the little mosquito has already flown eagerly over to the dying wind-blade wolf. He chuckles. Internally, sorry husky, do not blame him. If you must blame someone, blame yourself for following the wrong master. With that, he mercilessly drives his armor-piercing spike deep into the beast's neck. Almost instantly, a massive series of system notifications flash, informing him that he has absorbed 3.1. Blood Kai, then 3.2, adding up to a total of 9.2. Blood Kai from this single creature. His current total is now 96.1. The system also indicates that digestion is already in progress. The estimated time is 30 minutes, yielding 2.8 valuable evolution points once everything is fully complete. Absolutely amazing. He pulls out his proboscis with satisfaction, watching his surging stats climb. He is 96.1 now, just 3.9 points of raw blood Kai value away from hitting the 100 mark, just a tiny bit more. It looks like he can max it out today. He is filled with immense anticipation. What will his third evolution bring? Currently, he is a blade-winged blood mosquito. What kind of insect will he actually become next, once his blood Kai level finally reaches 100 points? He will successfully become a first-grade early-stage monster beast. He has a strong feeling that this upgrade will be far more epic than the previous two. The more he dwells on it, the more excited he gets. Glancing down at the few human corpses left on the grass, he hesitates for a moment before completely giving up on harvesting their blood. Honestly, it is not because of some moral standard. It is actually because his system warns him that the dead classmate is only a First-grade early-stage martial artist with highly inferior blood quality. On the other hand, Xianho is a first-grade late-stage beast tamer with a rating of 25 points but terribly inferior, with a warning of severe kidney deficiency. Forget that entirely. This trash quality is not worth harvesting, and it might even taste like cheap medicine. It is simply not worth the hassle. With a quick mental command, he starts calculating all his remaining 20 plus evolution points. The interface tells him his current total is 22.8. He decides to save 10 points for his next evolution and dump the rest into skills. Staring directly at his panel, he begins to ponder his choices. First up is Zerg Space, which is a total god-tier ability. He relied entirely on it to survive that chaotic clash. Honestly, this next upgrade is going to be massive. The system immediately alerts him that 5 evolution points have been spent, and Zerg Space Level 2 has successfully upgraded to Level 3. A notification appears on his screen, reminding him of his new and absolute authority over his growing insect army. Then the brand new skill description rolls in, directly informing him of his changes. That at Level 3, the host can store any same-level insect inside the Zerg. His space expands, boosting capacity to 1,000 insects while reducing his mental load. Control gets tighter now, not bad at all. The capacity literally doubled. Soon, he will command an army of thousands. At least 1,000 deadly bugs. He's absolutely loving this upgrade. He nods happily, then shifts his focus to blood food tracking. In these desolate mountains and wild ridges, this skill is basically a treasure hunting radar. It is practically a divine tool for sniffing out high-level targets. He has to upgrade it. The system burns 3 evolution points and blood food. Tracking Level 1 jumps to Level 2. The new description reveals that within a 300-meter radius, he can sense absolutely any creature containing blood. There are 14.8 evolution points left. The next evolution takes 10, leaving a surplus of 4.8. Leaving these points sitting around is a waste, so he decides to boost his combat power. Further, his gaze lands right on a new skill, Wing Blade Slash. This move is perfect for long-range sneak attacks and harassment. It fits his style perfectly. Upgrade time, 3 more evolution points vanish, and Wing Blade Slash Level 1 is upgraded to Level 2. He can now unleash much more devastating wing blade strikes, dealing deep cutting damage to targets while using slightly less vitality. This quick round of upgrades costs 11 evolution points, leaving him with 11.8. Once the wolf blood in his stomach fully digests, it adds another 2.8, bringing him to 14.6, plenty for his next evolution. As for skills, his lowest are already Level 2, requiring at least 5 points to upgrade. Further, he saves them. Closing the panel, he feels his power surge. Growing stronger by the second, his future looks incredibly bright and promising. Almost like a freshly drained vein. With his upgrades complete, he uses his thick, hard proboscis to poke Heian on the shoulder. Buzz, 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 he tells her, Empress. Stop resting and hurry up to find that monster with the high-level bloodline. Heian, resting against a nearby tree, just glares at him. He literally just killed so many people at once, yet she cannot even catch her breath. Her annoyed expression basically screams, why the hell are you rushing me? The corners of her eyes twitch. In frustration, although she is grumbling silently in her heart, she also knows what needs to be done, feeling most of her strength return. She quickly cleans up the scene, dragging the human corpses away from the pig carcasses and simply covering them up with piles of weeds. Once that is handled, she looks deep into the dark forest. She closes her eyes, focusing on that faint yet highly distinct aura of a high-level bloodline, making the 10,000 beasts furnace art inside her body stir. It is like a lighthouse guiding her through the dark night. That slaughtered hunting squad left a trail of blood dripping all the way here. Following these bloodstains, they are bound to find the source. A sudden flash of determination burns in her eyes. a pile of ironhide pig carcasses only solves her immediate crisis, but the essence blood from a legendary high-level bloodline monster could trigger a truly complete and profound transformation before the upcoming joint exam. This is the exact opportunity she has been waiting for, despite the dangerous depths of the Black Forest. Danger is everywhere, with 5th-grade monsters lurking for a mid-stage 1st-grade martial artist heading deep inside. The risk is absolute madness. However, she does not care. As a former empress, she knows wealth is found in danger. It is engraved in her bones. Her new life is already a complete hellscape. If she avoids taking risks, how will she ever return to the Emperor realm? She has absolutely no hesitation. The little mosquito buzzes happily beside her, urging her forward. The tiny guide is simple-minded, since she is a legendary reborn empress who and dares to venture deep into the Black Forest. She must have some backup. There has to be a secret plan, and so this incredibly strange pair tracks the nearly invisible bloodstains deep into the woods, slipping quietly through the trees. Meanwhile, back at the headquarters of the Jinzhou Guild, one of the top 3 hunting factions in Gangsong City, Hu Feng and his battered squad rush back, still covered in fresh monster blood. They barge straight into the guild building in a state of absolute panic. He is frantic. This is too massive. Even a second's delay could cost them the chance of a lifetime, since his squad is just a low-tier team in the guild, and his lowly rank means he cannot meet the powerful 8th-grade guild leader overseeing the entire city. Instead, he sprints directly to the door of the field operations manager. He kicks the door open, shouting that something big has happened, shouting wildly at the middle-aged man who is sitting inside, quietly drinking tea. Manager Yu jumps in surprise, spilling hot tea everywhere. Angrily, his brow furrows as he asks why Hu Feng is shouting. Like the sky is falling, the hunter is panting heavily, looking absolutely terrified. But thrilled, he gasps that deep in the Black Forest they found an 8th-grade azure flame flying lion with a high-level bloodline. Manager Yu looks puzzled, asking what of it. Is it not normal to find high-grade monsters in the deep forest? But the hunter swallows hard, his voice trembling as he reveals that the beast suffered a terrible labor while giving birth. It is heavily injured and its power has plummeted. He estimates its combat strength is barely at a 3rd-grade tier. Even better, they witnessed it give birth to 3 active cubs with elite bloodlines. Can you even imagine? This news hits him like a bomb. Exploding directly inside his head, he freezes instantly on the spot, his mind completely blank. Labor complications, strength dropped, 3 elite cubs. As a seasoned high-level manager, he recovers quickly from the shock. He recovers instantly, realizing the massive implications of this. Those are 3 priceless high-level bloodline monster cubs. He knows all too well that normal spiritual green snakes sold on the market are mostly a scam. Even though they boast elite bloodlines, they must shed their skin multiple times to grow, and each shed has a 90% mortality rate. Out of 10,000 snakes, barely one reaches adulthood to break through to the 7th grade, making it an absolute miracle. That is why they are sold. They are basically just lottery tickets. But an azure flame flying lion is completely different. With its feed this special bloodline enough resources, it is guaranteed to grow. It easily reaches 7th grade upon reaching adulthood, but with luck, it might even match its mother's 8th grade glory, maybe higher. Even 9th grade is possible, and they have 3 of them. If the Jinzhou Guild can capture these 3 cubs, everything changes. They will secure 3 top-tier powerhouses in just a few years. That is more than enough to completely shift the city's power balance. Manager Yu gasps. He glares at Hu Feng. Did you engage it? We did, Hu Feng stammers. Fear and bitter regret wash over his face. They wanted to exploit its weakness and steal the cubs right then. But old IM and Ah Gang were instantly crushed to bloody paste. Even weakened, a starved camel is still bigger than a horse. They stood zero chance, leaving them no choice but to retreat for backup. "You absolute idiot," Manager Yu snaps, furious that a weakling dared to provoke an 8th grade monster. "Are you trying to get yourself killed?" But blame can wait. He grabs the encrypted communicator on his desk. He calls the higher-ups, reporting the situation as fast as possible. Silence follows, absolute silence on the other end of the line. For 10 whole seconds, nobody speaks. The bosses are clearly deeply shocked. Then a freezing, absolute voice finally speaks through the communicator speaker. "This matter is top secret. Dispatch the Shadow Fang squad immediately. They must be led by the 7th grade beast tamer, Nang Yan. There is only one mission: kill the lioness, secure the cubs. Maintain complete secrecy. If you encounter anyone out there, kill them. Leave no survivors." Meanwhile, a girl and a mosquito walk cautiously into the dense black forest. The deeper they go, the darker it gets. Massive ancient trees tower high overhead, completely blotting out the sky. The thick air reeks of decay and danger, making their skin crawl. Distant roars of demonic beasts echo out, sending shivers down their spines. But our main character is busy. He is actively growing his army. His battle against those fools, Xian and Wu, cost him many bugs. Now that his Zerg Space capacity has been upgraded to hold up to 1,000, he naturally needs to fill the ranks. And the Black Forest is absolutely crawling with all kinds of insects. He gathers them up without hesitation, choosing not to be picky. Beetles on the ground, moths in the trees, he takes them all. With a single thought, he sweeps them all into his space. The quiet space quickly fills back up, buzzing with new life. His insect numbers have doubled already, but then they spot something. Fresh droppings from a powerful 3rd grade beast lie on the grass. Heian stares at the massive pile, her face growing incredibly serious. "We cannot keep charging blindly forward like this," she warns him. She quickly raises her hands, forming a strange hand seal silently. A faint, almost invisible watery ripple spreads out from her body, shrouding both her own body and the mosquito on her shoulder. She whispers a profound stealth technique she found in her past life. Though it has zero combat power, it is built for ultimate stealth. It completely locks down her presence and erases her life signature. Unless a king-tier beast gets within 100 meters and actively searches, it is almost impossible to find any trace of her. This is her ultimate trump card, allowing a simple 1st grade warrior to safely explore the dangerous Black Forest. He senses this strange power. Looking up in surprise, he realizes that he and Heian have now. They turned into lifeless rocks, blending seamlessly into the dark woods. He cannot help but respect this empress even more now. She really has some great tricks up her sleeve, no simple brute force here. Our monster marvels at her talent while immediately dialing up his own focus. Pushing his blood food tracking level 2 skill, he goes all out. Instantly, a full 3-dimensional map within 300 meters fills his mind. Now he sees a nest of sleeping hedgehogs and a venomous snake nearby. Birds fly overhead, and a predator waits in the trees to strike. Every single living creature is completely exposed to him. His eyes alone are just too slow, and his natural range is far too narrow. So he splits his newly rebuilt Zerg minion army into groups. Dozens of tiny squads scatter, heading out in every direction to scout, sending squads east, west, and high up into the skies to search. They must hunt for any large blood sources and report back instantly. But there is a catch once they go beyond 500 meters. His connection starts lagging like a terrible wireless signal, dropping constantly. Getting only weak, fuzzy signals back, making precise control impossible. Frustrated, he checks his status screen. His spirit stat is incredibly low. Just 10.2, his mind power is still weak, making him sigh. Evolving twice from a tiny bug with 0.01 blood. He almost reaches demon beast tier, but his mind power is lagging behind. Going from 0.01 to 10.2 is horribly unbalanced. The system is totally lopsided, but 500 meters is better than nothing. Warning messages are quickly sent straight into Haeyun's mind to guide her. Left tree snake, ahead underground rabbit. A full conversation is out, but sending simple alerts works perfectly. In this world, only beast tamers with high-level pets can talk. True Mind Link is reserved solely for king-tier beasts and above. Haeyun does not pay much attention to his warnings at first. But after dodging several hidden traps and beasts because of him, her calm composure completely shatters. She cannot believe how accurate he is. Stopping in her tracks, she turns her head to stare at him. Look at her face, she is looking at him like he is an alien. She hisses through their mental link, asking if he has radar powers too. His scouting range and precision are far beyond anything she can manage. How many secrets is this little beast hiding from her? Evolution, bugs. With high-tech radar tracking, what else is he keeping secret? Can a mosquito really do all this? Haeyun's mind struggles to keep up. Watching her completely shocked face, the little beast feels a quiet wave of pride. He buzzes softly, warning her to stay calm. This is just a basic operation, after all. No need to go overboard, he thinks smugly. Just then, the wolf blood in his stomach finishes digesting. The system alerts him that the blood digestion process is finally done. He gains 2.8 evolution points, bringing his current total to 14.6 points. Right away, a brutal wave of hunger washes over him. Checking his status panel, his total Chi and blood sits at 96.1. He is only a single step away from the crucial 100-point threshold. One more bite is all it takes to gather the remaining Chi and blood needed for his evolution, while officially stepping into the formidable ranks of first-grade demon beasts. There is no way he can resist this temptation. His eyes fall upon the neck of the mobile blood bag beside him. That fair, slender swan neck looks incredibly enticing under the dim forest light. He silently apologizes to his empress. For their shared future, she will have to bear with this for a moment, without hesitation. He aims his 5-centimeter armor-piercing spike directly at her smooth patch of snow-white skin and plunges it down fiercely. Instantly, Haeyun's entire body shudders, violently letting out a quiet, suppressed groan of pain as her entire frame completely stiffens. An unprecedented, brutal pain radiates from her neck. This sensation is nothing like a normal mosquito bite, feeling more like being stabbed by a red-hot steel needle. Turning her head in shock, she spots the 10-centimeter black monster clinging tightly to her collarbone, with its thick, long proboscis buried nearly 2/3 deep into her flesh. Her eyes instantly redden, nearly breaking down. Can you blame her for being furious? He is getting far too brazen now. Before, when feeding on her blood, he at least targeted fleshy areas like her thigh. Now he goes straight for the neck, treating her like some buffet. An all-you-can-eat buffet. Sensing his empress's absolute fury and deep grievance, he continues sucking greedily while sending a soothing, calm thought. He tells her to endure, but she curses him silently through the intense pain. Meanwhile, the system tracks his gains, adding 1.1 and 1.3. 5.2 vitality absorbed, total 101.3. Breakthrough, the system congratulates him for passing 100 vitality. He is officially a first-grade early-stage beast, absolutely wild. A power far stronger and purer than ever before instantly surges from his cells. He feels his strength, speed, and even physical toughness take a massive leap forward. This is a massive breakthrough, now with just a single flap of his wings. His wing blade slash is easily 30% stronger than it was before. This is the massive enhancement of crossing over into the demon beast ranks. Meanwhile, after pushing past her initial pain and fury, Haeyun slowly realizes something is very different. She senses the changes within his tiny body. Through their blood contract in shock, vitality over 100. He became a first-grade demon beast. How could this even be possible? Just this morning, his vitality was sitting at only around 50 points. Not even half a day has passed, yet he went from a wild beast straight to a first-grade early-stage beast. This makes no sense. Heian's mind races. Suddenly, she remembers that spiritual green snake. The one drained dry in her rental, and then that ironhide pig herd. Just completely wiped out. A wild thought, the only possible explanation. Hits her hard. Could this beast directly convert the vitality it steals? Transform it straight into its own power? The mere thought leaves her frozen. Stunned across 2 entire lifetimes, she has never heard of such a beast. Possessing this kind of insane, godlike ability, back at her past peak. She had seen legendary demon beasts famous for draining their prey. Like those king-tier blood-sucking bats or even the terrifying Imperial Netherworld blood sea dragons. Sure, they grew stronger by feeding. But that was a slow grind requiring endless refinement and purification. Copying and pasting absorbed life force onto oneself like this, unheard of. Absolutely unreal, even the forbidden, dark technique she practices. The 10,000 Beasts furnace art looks like a toddler learning to walk. Compared to this bug's terrifying, near-instant conversion speed, after the shock, Heian is torn between pure excitement and deep worry, extremely conflicted. She is thrilled because this mosquito is growing at a godlike speed. At this rate, could she actually rise again? Just watch what happens next. But she worries because no demon beast has ever evolved over 3 times. Not even the most elite, Imperial tier bloodlines could surpass that limit. Evolving 3 times in a lifetime was the absolute ceiling. And this tiny mosquito started so weak, yet it has already evolved twice. Just to reach grade 1, even with a 3rd evolution. It would barely scratch grade 3. Can it break the rules? Could it somehow evolve a 4th time? Before today, she would have laughed in their face, but this mosquito defies all common logic. What if it actually can keep evolving without any limits? The sheer possibility is mind-blowing. In this life, her path to power might actually begin. Meanwhile, the little beast satisfies its hunger. Pulling back its proboscis, looking at its system panel, the 3rd. Evolution is ready, but a 10-hour process requires safety. Now is definitely not the time. Buzzing loudly, it signals her to move out. No time for dazing around, only then does she snap back to reality. Together, the human and her tiny ally set off once more. With the mosquito acting as a living radar, they bypass danger. Slipping right past powerful demon beasts, it even spots a massive 5th-grade earth-shaking bear napping like a small mountain in the distance. All thanks to its swarm scouts, that beast's sheer life force shines as bright as the sun. Heian is utterly terrified, her back completely covered in cold sweat. Talk about a heart-stopping moment. The very gates of hell. Her view of her companion deepens. No longer seeing it as a mere burden, but something else. An annoying yet exceptionally reliable ally that she can actually trust. Finally, after pushing over 10 kilometers deep into the wild woods, the heavy aura of high-grade bloodlines grows incredibly thick. The human and her mosquito companion stop outside a valley covered in thick vines and scattered rocks where the enticing scent of fresh blood drifts from deep inside. He pushes his blood-tracking ability to its absolute limit, focusing intensely as he probes the valley. A moment later, a shocking scene flashes in his mind, making his tiny mosquito body tremble violently. In the depths of that valley lies a massive source of vitality, like a dying star rapidly losing its glow. This life force is draining fast, belonging to a beast on the brink of death. It is indeed a dying, high-level adult demon beast with a powerful bloodline. Even better, right next to that enormous source of life, he senses 3 more. They are small but shine like diamonds, though weak for now. The purity of their bloodline is just as elite as that dying giant beast. Talk about hitting the jackpot. the mosquito almost buzzes out loud in sheer excitement. A dying high-level beast and 3 newborn cubs, did he just stumble into a treasure trove? He quickly suppresses his wild joy to focus on the next move. He immediately sends a mental message to Heian, breaking down the situation. He signals one massive, dying blood bag with 3 tiny ones next to it. Receiving this brief, fragmented mental signal, Heian pauses in surprise. Blood bag, she frowns slightly, trying to decipher what her partner means. Then it clicks, his bizarre vocabulary must refer to creatures with rich vitality. A massive, dying creature, along with 3 small ones nearby. Her breathing instantly quickens as a thrilling deduction forms in her mind. A heavily injured, dying high-level adult demon beast and its cubs. A look of unprecedented excitement instantly flashes in her eyes. This windfall is simply too massive to ignore. In the past, she spent millions. Nearly going broke just to buy a single high-level green snake with high growth risks. Now she has stumbled upon 3 of them at the same time. If she can absorb the adult beast and claim the 3 cubs, it will be an absolute jackpot for her future. The more she contemplates this, the more thrilled she becomes. She gets ready to quietly slip into the valley to investigate. But at that exact moment, the mosquito senses a sudden danger. His upgraded blood tracking system picks up a threat from behind. A few hundred meters away, over a dozen powerful auras are rushing toward them. The weakest among this approaching group are 5th-grade martial artists. Worse yet, one signature is so overwhelming it makes the mosquito shudder. It is a demon beast, at least of the late 7th grade. By the feel of it, this must be a powerful contracted beast. This means a terrifying 7th-grade beast tamer is heading straight their way. What is going on? The mosquito focuses his senses to analyze the crowd. He immediately spots a familiar energy signature belonging to Hu Feng. It all makes sense now. That coward actually ran back for reinforcements. The moment he detects them, he sends a sharp warning to Heian. He commands her to freeze. Heian, poised to slip inside, stops in confusion. Why stop now? Still, she completely trusts his exceptional scouting abilities. A bond forged through countless narrow escapes they have shared together. Mid-journey, she suddenly freezes in her tracks. She suppresses her breath. Pushing her concealment art to the absolute limit, grabbing the mosquito, she sneaks behind it. Massive boulder that is half her height, barely even daring to breathe, but not. Long after, heavy footsteps dripping with pure killing intent begin to approach. From the distance, peering through a crack in the rock, Heian sees who is coming, and her cold eyes instantly narrow as her breath catches. It is the Jinya. Guild's Shadow Fang Squad. She panics, recognizing their matching. Black combat uniforms at a single glance. They are one of the most elite squads under the Jinya Guild, one of Gang Seng's 3 major hunting guilds. Having been an empress in her past life, she is intimately familiar with all the powerhouse factions across the region. This Shadow Fang Squad is famous around Gang Seng for their absolute ruthlessness and a 100% mission success rate. These are lethal monsters who have climbed straight out of mountains of corpses and rivers of blood to encounter them here is absolute disaster. Her face instantly turns incredibly grim. The Shadow Fang Squad arriving here out of nowhere, combined with the traitorous figure of Hu Feng trailing among them, means only one thing: they are hunting down that 8th-grade demonic beast and its 3 newborn cubs. Sure enough, the group of over a dozen hunters, led by him, heads straight toward the valley entrance. Leading them is a woman with a cold, ruthless expression and eyes as sharp as daggers, even as she just stands there. Silently, a heavy, suffocating pressure radiates from her body, freezing the surrounding air. She is the infamous captain of this elite squad, the legendary 7th-grade beast tamer, Nang Yan. Heian's heart immediately drops into a bottomless pit. A 7th-grade beast tamer, that is pure insanity. She is currently only a 1st-grade, mid-stage martial artist. Even if she brought the entire student body and staff from her school, they would still just be lambs to the slaughter for this squad. How could a weak first-grade martial artist and a tiny mosquito companion possibly snatch prey right out of the jaws of these savage tigers? Honestly, this isn't just stealing from a tiger. This is like trying to rip a nuclear bomb right out of Godzilla's mouth. It is suicide. Captain Nang, it is right here. Hu Feng speaks with uncontrollable excitement, mixed with lingering terror, pointing deep into the valley while urging them on. That azure flame flying lion is inside, and its aura is incredibly weak. We should strike now while it is vulnerable, but Nang Yan just stares at him. Like he is an absolute fool, her voice is as freezing as ice as she asks him if he knows how terrifying an 8th-grade beast's final counterattack can be. Hu Feng flinches under her gaze, instantly shutting his mouth. A starving beast of that caliber is still a legendary monster, especially with its high-grade bloodline. Nang Yan's razor-sharp eyes scan the valley as she calmly analyzes the situation. It is only weakened, she notes, not dead. If they push it too far, it might self-destruct its core and drag everyone straight to hell. He and his 2 dead teammates are already the perfect proof of that. The rest of the squad members quickly grow grim upon hearing her warning. Even though these fighters are all 5th-grade experts or higher, facing an 8th-grade demonic beast, even a dying one, makes them incredibly nervous. Their guild master and the other top squads are away from Gang Seng. They are the only force the guild can deploy right now, meaning this operation must succeed. If they suffer any losses here, no backup is coming. Nang Yan keeps a completely clear head and quickly makes the safest call. When she issues her command, everyone responds in unison. Setting up camp right here, they will completely blockade the valley entrance. Nang Yan instructs them in a cold, emotionless voice to wait until that beast takes its very last breath before they go in to clean up the mess. If anyone dares to approach this area, no matter who they are, she promises to kill them without any mercy. With the chilling command issued, the members of the Shadow Fang squad immediately spring into action. They quickly divide tasks, setting up tight guardlines and heavy traps outside the valley to prepare for a long, grueling standoff. Just then, Nang Yan remembers something and turns to ask Hu Feng a question. She wants to know if he encountered anyone else during his earlier retreat. Hu Feng is startled as Xian Hao and Heian's student group flashes through his mind. He quickly replies, telling her they only ran into a bunch of Gang Seng Young Mu High School students near the Black Forest. They seemed to be on a mission, but their actual strength was incredibly low. The strongest among them was only 1st-grade late stage, posing absolutely no threat. Hearing this, Nang Yan relaxes with a dismissive snort about those students. To her, they are just weak brats who would never dare venture this deep. Hiding behind a nearby rock, Heian and Sujun witness the entire exchange. Their spirits sink to the absolute lowest point. Honestly, things look completely hopeless. Heian bites her lower lip so hard her fingernails almost dig into her flesh. Her heart is filled with pure frustration over this missed chance. A perfect heaven-sent opportunity was right within her reach, but this squad ruined everything. She knows exactly how smart and deadly their plan really is. They are just waiting around for the beast to die, conserving their own energy. Once the mother beast dies, they will easily take the 3 cubs without a fight. Meanwhile, she and Sujun will not even get a single chance to draw close. The gap in power is just too massive, completely inducing despair. Should they just retreat? Just thinking about giving up makes Heian feel incredibly torn apart. She is truly unwilling to walk away. Meanwhile, Sujun, perched on her shoulder, is feeling equally anxious. Their easy victory is slipping away. That was the essence blood of an 8th-grade beast and 3 walking super experience packs. If he could somehow claim them all, let alone his 3rd evolution, he could easily reach his 4th and 5th forms. Give up now? No way. that is absolutely impossible for him. Having read countless web novels, he knows all about fate-defying protagonist powers. Has he ever backed down from a challenge? Not a chance. He absolutely must find a way. His brain works at lightning speed, reviewing all his current skills and available resources. A direct confrontation, definitely not, that would be suicidal. This is like throwing an egg against a rock. Stealing, absolutely impossible. They are professionals with tight security, with his 10-centimeter body flying over. Would just get him blasted to absolute dust. What else can he do? Then an insanely risky plan flashes through his mind like a lightning bolt. He has a way. Buzzing frantically, he tells the Empress to wait because he has a plan. He beats his wings against Haeun's face, sending her an incredibly firm thought. Haeun was just preparing to retreat, but now she freezes in shock. She asks if he really has a plan, staring at him with deep suspicion. What could he possibly do? The enemy is a highly elite squad, led by a rank 7 beast tamer, facing such an overwhelming gap in power. Any little trick seems completely useless. Has this mosquito finally lost his mind? Or is he just desperate, but looking closely at his tiny compound eyes? She spots a clear flicker of confidence that catches her completely off guard. Her sinking heart suddenly feels a strange, rising glimmer of hope. This little guy has done nothing but pull off absolute miracles. Talk about a desperate gamble, but she really has no options left. Haeun bites her lip and decides to trust him just one more time. Seeing her calm down, Sujun immediately opens his system screen. His stats pop up. Host name, Sujun race, blade-winged blood mosquito. Lifespan 93 days, blood chi over 100, spirit 10.2. Evolution points 16.1, rank early rank 1 demonic beast. His skills include level 2 blood tracking and level 3 Zerg Space. A prompt flashes, he can trigger his third evolution with 10 points. It takes 10 hours, but with 16 points, he is fully loaded. A sharp light gleams in his eyes as he commands the system. System upgrade blood tracking now. Instantly, the panel responds. 5 evolution points are consumed, and his skill rises to level 3. The new description reads, within a radius of 800 meters. The host can detect any living creature with vastly improved perception. 800 meters is more than enough. He nods in satisfaction. This is perfect for his plan. He immediately activates the skill. Suddenly, a highly detailed map of all life within 800 meters floods his mind. It is crystal clear. Then, with a single thought, he quietly releases 30 tiny, ordinary mosquitoes from his Zerg space, each no larger than a sesame seed. They are completely invisible, the exact, annoying kind whose bites itch terribly. With a command, he sends all 30 of them flying forward. They drift through the grass, silently slipping past the Shadow Fang squad. They penetrate the perimeter and slip deep into the valley. Though these guards are elites, who could expect an attack like this? Nobody looks for spies that are basically invisible. Their focus is entirely on giant demonic beasts and powerful enemy martial artists. They completely overlook a swarm of insects barely larger than dust. Soon, his tiny swarm reaches the dying azure flame flying lion. The massive beast is taking its final breaths, but they are not here for blood. They land, fresh blood flows from her wounds, completely soaking them. With a thought from him, those 30 little mosquitoes, now completely soaked in it, in rank 8 beast blood, are successfully pulled back into his storage. Hidden behind the rocks, Haeun watches this bizarre operation unfold before her. She is completely stunned. Her mental link shows every single detail of this crazy move. What do you mean by this? She blankly questions him in her mind. Are you really trying to steal blood this way? It is way too slow and inefficient. Even if you did this for a whole year, you would get barely anything. He almost laughs. Her vision is far too narrow, he thinks. Who on earth said he is just stealing? He smugly transmits a thought, telling her to stay put and not move an inch. I will be right back, he promises her. Suddenly, he vibrates his wings to fly. His tiny form becomes an imperceptible dark shadow, flying silently along the ground. He heads away from the valley, leaving her behind. Wait, Heian is completely shocked. She is about to shout to stop him, but suddenly covers her mouth in horror. She watches him vanish into the dense forest, her heart instantly in her throat. This is incredibly dangerous, a rank 1 beast flying around this deep black forest. It is pure suicide. If he dies out there, what is she supposed to do? Heian is both anxious and angry, but she simply dares not act rashly. She lies flat behind the rocks, waiting anxiously with absolutely no clue about his plan. Time drags, she waits in agonizing silence as the minutes slowly tick away. 1 hour, then 2, then 5 long hours pass. The sky darkens and the forest grows eerie. Inside the valley, the azure flame flying lion's aura weakens. It is down to the absolute limit, ready to fade away at any given second. Get ready, Nang Yeon opens her eyes and stands up. It is dying, prepare to enter the valley right now. Understood, the squad replies. The Shadow Fang squad rises up with greedy, excited eyes. Victory is right before them. They can almost taste their massive reward. Seeing this, Heian's heart turns completely to cold, solid ice. 5 long hours have passed, and that damn mosquito still has not returned to her side. He flew too far, meaning she cannot even sense his presence anymore. A chilling thought creeps in, and can you blame her? Did he see things going south and abandon her to save his own tiny skin? Was his loyalty really that low? Their connection was just a forced blood contract. There was never any real trust or loyalty to speak of between them. Panic sets in. She is a proud, reborn beast-taming empress. Was she really about to be abandoned by her very first contracted, soul-bound beast? Just as her mind spirals into absolute despair, a familiar dark shadow silently swoops back. He lands softly on her shoulder, buzzing that he is finally back in one piece. Heian feels instant relief, followed by rage as she questions him mentally. Where on earth did you go? They are heading in right now. Buzz, do not worry, he replies, because the real show is about to start. Right then, rumble, the ground beneath them begins to shake violently. From every direction in the forest, savage, bloodthirsty auras explode. Roars, howls, and heavy hisses echo as if hell itself is opening up. Outside the valley, a terrifying, massive stampede of countless wild monsters is finally underway. Demonic roars unleash a world-destroying sound wave, causing the entire forest to shake violently. Rocks fall, a beast tide. This massive, unannounced beast tide suddenly erupts like a bursting dam, one by one. Giant demonic beasts with blood-red, crazed eyes charge wildly out of the dense forest from every direction like madmen. Their goal is incredibly clear, the valley shrouded in a thick, choking scent of blood, and the Shadow Fang squad defending. The entrance, rank 4, earth-shattering demonic rhinoceroses, use their wall-like heads to smash rocks. Rank 5, three-eyed demonic wolves run in packs. Bringing along chilling, blood-scented wind, there are even several massive rank 6 ghost-faced spiders hanging upside down from the canopy, their 8 limbs like soul-reaping scythes, dozens even. Hundreds of rank 4 and above demonic beasts gather to form a massive, unstoppable, terrifying black torrent. The little mosquito chuckles, thinking it is finally dinner time for them. Perched on Heian's shoulder, he stares at his masterpiece. Honestly, who can blame him? He had not been idle. He took those 30 specially prepared little mosquitoes, stained with the blood of the rank 8. Azure flame flying lion, scattering them across an area spanning over a dozen kilometers. His 800-meter blood food tracking skill allowed him to precisely locate every powerful demonic beast's den.